Good evening, everyone. The time, I believe, is now 5:16. We're going to call our council presentation to order, with the first presentation being facilitated by our Mayor's Youth Council for their Coins for College campaign.
Good evening, everyone. Mayor's Youth Council, also referred to as MYC, is a dedicated body of young people that reside in this wonderful city of Homestead. Directed under the powerful leadership of Vice Mayor Patricia Fairclough, the Mayor's Youth Council participate and are sponsored by numerous community outreach events. One of our spearheaded community outreach projects include Coins for College, in which we have been exceedingly pleased to award 3 deserving recipients. Money that is received by these Coin for College scholarship winners originate from the generous donations of Homestead citizens from jars left on community counters. Today, we, as Mayor's Youth Council, are privileged with the honor of presenting the 3 scholarships to 3 very deserving community members. Nicole, may you do the honors?
Thank you, Ashley. Our first recipient is Fernan Lauro Gregorio. He's attending UCF this fall, and he lives in District 6. He graduated from the School of Advanced Studies, and he earned 60 college credits. He's volunteered at the Seminole Theater and at the Homestead Summer Camp. Congratulations. And our second recipient is Joaquin Morales. He's attending UCF. He lives in District 1. He graduated from Mastad Homestead and earned 31 credits from Miami-Dade College. He's volunteered at the Homestead Baptist Hospital and has participated in different clubs like HOSA and MRC. And to our final recipient, Tiana Hayes. She is also attending UCF, and she lives in District 4. She's earned 21 credits, college credits from MDC and from FIU. She graduated from Homestead Senior High School and has done over 470 community service hours. Congratulations to all of our recipients.
I'm kind of tall for this.
I would just like to commend you for the council, the youth council, for the role that you played into providing these college scholarships. I don't know if you understand, but it does my heart good to see that these young people collected coins to be able to provide college scholarships to their peers. And one of their first contributors were Councilman Jimmy Williams with a $500 check to help support this initiative. And I'm excited that one of the recipients are from your district, seat 4. So keep up the great work, Youth Council, and to you, all the best to you as you pursue your higher education. And always know that if there's anything that we can do in the city of Homestead to support your efforts, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. Congratulations, all the best to you. That is yours. The real check is on the back, so be careful. That's the most important. And at this time, I'd like to recognize some graduating seniors, and these seniors are very special to me because they are Mayor's Youth Council members, and each year I parade all of our graduating seniors from the city of Homestead here for a somewhat commencement ceremony, but this year I wanted to have it a little bit more intimate to recognize our Mayor's Youth Council members who are moving on to college. They have faithfully and dutifully served the city of Homestead, giving their time, their talent, their treasures, and I'm excited to be here this evening to recognize them. Javin Bizzaretti, she's been on council for 4 years. Step up, Javin. She graduated from Mass at Homestead, and she's going to USF in the fall to pursue cell and molecular biology. Javin Bizzaretti. Alden Edwards, she served with us for 3 years. She graduated from Southgate Senior High School. She's attending UCF, and she's majoring in International Global Studies. Alden Edwards. Melissa Hurtado, she's been on council for 1 year. She graduated from Keysgate Charter High School. She's attending Miami-Dade, and she's majoring in chemistry. Melissa Hurtado. Marco Ocampo is the mayor, outgoing mayor of the Mayor's Youth Council. He's been serving on council for 3 years. He graduated from Mass at Homestead, and he's attending UCF, majoring in biology and pre-med. Marco Ocampo. Antoinette Rivera, she served on council for 1 year. Antoinette is my comeback kid. Initially, she wasn't as active, and I lit the fire underneath her, but I think she lit the flame from within. And she's been one of the most consistent since I had her to pledge her allegiance and loyalty to council. So she is the comeback kid of the year. She graduated from Arthur and Polly Mays Conservatory of the Arts. She is attending UCF, and she's majoring in corporate law. Antoinette Rivera. These are our 2016 graduates of the Mayor's Youth Council and from their local high schools, and I just want you to know that you have a lot of support in this community, your family and your friends, but anything that you need to succeed is not just around you, it is within you. So use your wisdom to change the world. All the best to you. Our next presentation will be by none other than Councilman Jimmy Williams. You are welcome.
Hard to follow up on that one. Today it pleases me an opportunity and to present and to recognize. Before I get started, I'm missing a piece. I need to find. Gives me great joy and honor to present and to show appreciation to a gentleman who has really came into Homestead and didn't just stay in his own little cul-de-sac, but he reached out beyond um, all boundaries that you can probably think of. And he's very passionate about the things that he do in Homestead, and that's Pastor Brock Schiffer. So if he would come up, I want to tell you about this gentleman. Pastor Schiffer shares his time with the Military Affairs Committee as the former vice chair, the Kiwanis Club of Homestead, where he heads up the Just One Book program that has given out over 8,000 books in the last 4 years. He's also a volunteer pastor and chaplain at the Homestead Hospital, as well as a weekly pastor to the ladies at Agape Recovery Program in Homestead. But not only that, he's an active member of New Beginnings Fellowship, where he is in charge of monthly missions programs to the city. He also serves on the Education Committee and is now on the Southwest Advisory Committee. He and his wife love making Homestead, or I should say he's kind of coined the phrase, leaving Homestead better than what they found it. And he is a remarkable man, and for our quarterly Pastor's Highlight, we highlight this opportunity for Pastor Brock Schiffer. Come on this side so we can see you, and I have just a token of appreciation that we will give you, and it says, Pastor Brock Schiffer, in recognition of your bona fide ministry you have provided to the community, Councilman Jimmy L. Williams III, June 22nd, 2016. I remember when I was, and it's a journal, Pastor, so you can record those most intimate moments that you have in your journal.
For the swag.
That's right. When you make sure you really bring that to take those notes for the swag. But not only that, when I was in the hospital about 2 years ago, this gentleman came to my bedside, and at the time I didn't recognize who he was until after he kept talking for a moment. And I said, "Oh yeah, I remember you." But he prayed for me on my most vulnerable time in my life, and I just want to tell you thank you. Because it's persons like you that makes Homestead what it is. It's persons like you with your heart and your integrity and your stance to change, be a change agent. We need more people like you. And so it does me great joy and honor to salute you and say thank you for what you provide for this community. So with all a round of applause, we can give this great man who he is and his wife do justice for what you have done. We can never repay you for your ministry that you've contributed to Homestead, but a token of appreciation to tell you thank you is much obliged. So thank you, sir. Anything you'd like to say?
I sure do. Give a pastor a phone, watch out. Joanne and I came to this town 13 years ago, and we decided very shortly thereafter that this was going to be our home, and we wanted to make an impact for Jesus Christ. And so about 7 years ago, we created the bumper sticker that said, "Let's leave Homestead better than we found it." And I stand today with this in hand saying that obviously people are taking us seriously. I work with principals almost every day, and what I just witnessed was what a wonderful reminder it is for educating these young people. Look at how they're turning out. Well, they got to start somewhere. So we start right down in the kindergartens, and we start mentoring down there. And we're mentoring young men and women who don't have father figures. We now have 10 adoptions that God has allowed us to do, 4 of which have just been opened in the last month. So we're starting to make a huge, huge impact in this community. Education, you have no idea the amount of hours that teachers are putting in. Let me tell you, you have principals in this town that when they say, "Brock, these are my kids," they take their students seriously. So we're seeing a wonderful relationship now in this area being established from Perrine all the way down here now with principals and pastors saying we want to make a difference, and it's been extraordinary. So my goal now is to get to 15, and then my goal will be to 20. But the point is that we want to leave Homestead better than we found it. God bless you, and thank you for this privilege.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I appreciate you. Wait, we got to get some pictures. Tell your wife to come on up. Yeah, Joanne, come. Yeah, come on. You sharing, propping him up.
By the way, let me say one last thing. When I first came to town, I said to myself, if I ever grow up, I want to be like Larry Roth. I hope this is an indication that I'm moving in the right direction.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Williams. That concludes our special presentations for this evening. As soon as our city clerk is ready, we'll move into our council meeting. Thank you.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. At this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order. I'd like to start with Wednesday, June 22nd, 2016 council meeting to order at approximately 6 o'clock p.m. This evening, we'll have the invocation by Pastor Travis Johnson, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance from Mr. Burgess and the Police Explorers. Would you please stand?
To you, we say thank you for your grace in our lives. Thank you that you became flesh and dwelt among us through Jesus, and you chose to do it in a place called Nazareth, a place where we could sympathize, and you could sympathize with us. You being the son of eventually a single mom who would have to take care of herself and be pressurized by work and making money and living in community with a small town. I think I would have chosen maybe Manhattan or LA or Miami myself, but I thank you that you stepped into a place full of challenge, and thank you for modeling the way for what it is to be in community and to be life and light and hope. And I pray that as we wrestle with things here in our community, present issues from our past, and also our future, which is bright, Lord, I pray that we would do so in a way that is honorable of your example. And so I ask that for all of us today, whatever role we take, whether it's in business or in a nonprofit sector or in government, Father, I pray that we would do well and that we would be honorable not only to you, but also to one another, and that we would find incredible solutions in this incredible community. Lord, we thank you and we honor you today. And it's in your Son's name that I pray. Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. You may be seated. Pastor Johnson, thank you. Life Point Church, awesome. Mr. Burgess, appreciate that. And always, the Police Explorers do a great job for us. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Roth?
Here.
Councilman Williams? Councilman Maldonado? Here. Councilman Shelley? Councilman Burgess? Here. Vice Mayor Faircloth? Here. Mayor Porter?
Here. Next item is public comments. I'll open up the floor for public comments right now. We have a gentleman, Joel, is it Santos? Is Mr. Joel, are you here?
Yes. Oh, he's not.
No? Nothing? Earl, is it Beaver? Mr. Beaver, come on forward and name and address for the record, please, sir.
Earl Beaver. The question I have is about the downtown bowling alley. What's the update on that project?
Well, this is just a comment section. If you wanted to say something about your candidacy or just, it's really just kind of a open dialogue for you to address the city and the council.
Okay. Well, I'm Earl Beaver. I'm running for county commissioner in the 9th District against Dennis Moss. The election is August the 30th. I want to help with the development of the communities of Homestead, Florida City, from Richmond Heights, and it's all about the kids and help bring programs to kids, activities, to reduce crime in our communities. So I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad to see all of you.
Mr. Beaver, I'll give your card to the manager, and they'll get in touch with you and give you some information on the bowling alley, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comments? You're welcome to come forward at this time. I don't have a card, but come on up, sir.
I would love to say good afternoon, but I don't know what's so good about this afternoon because I'm here discussing the same issue for the last 8 months. I want to talk to you guys and basically tell you a little bit about history. Martin Luther King, at one particular time, took his kids to a resource, an amusement park called Funtown. However, the kids could not get in because they were African American. And he had to turn around and look at his daughters and tell them why that they could not get in there. He had to explain to them that society saw them as being inferior, Larry Roth. That's what he had to do. At this particular time, I have to turn around to African Americans because you failed to be able to put, once again, on the agenda, to be able to discuss the body cameras when African American males, young Hispanic males, are being mowed down. And one particular officer has 6 shootings, 6, 2 unarmed men, 2 unarmed men, and we can't discuss the body camera issue. Now, this is what you call mismanagement. There was once upon a time in our history, there was the house Negro and there was the field Negro. The house Negro identified with his master. He spoke well, did everything with the master. Al Rowe, Chauncey Brown. This is how this went. When the master caught the flu, he said, "What's the matter, boss? Are we sick?" These are the games that we play with the African American community. These are the games that we play with the city of Homestead. This is straight mismanagement. And anytime that you have 6 men mowed down in the street, 2 unarmed, one is sitting in prison right now for a probation violation for weed, having weed, which is legal. And he was shot through the back. You had a city manager, Mr. Gretzer, who doesn't address this with his chief of police. A chief of police who's been, today I'm calling out names. A chief of police who sat down here for the last 12 years, missed Monday, Friday, Wednesday, halfway run the department, and then won't address the issues of the African American community, places this officer right back on the street, doesn't give him any training, nothing. Gives him a promotion for killing a black man. In the words of that old ghetto poet, Trick Daddy. That's right, I said it, and I blankety blank meant it today. That was extremely disrespectful to you, Mr. Roth. To be able to take that off the agenda and not have the heart to be able to make a pusillanimous move, sitting back saying nothing. The arc of the university is long, but it must bend towards morality. Mr. Williams, I'm hoping and looking forward to you addressing this issue. When you look at a police department over the last 4 or 5 years and the way it's being ran, and there's no question and there's no critical analytical.
Thank you, Mr. Hill.
Thank you.
Mr. McDuffie?
I've become too much of an annual fixture up here. Sorry about that. Stephen McDuffie, 139 Southeast 36th Avenue, Homestead, Florida. Thank you, Council. Thank you, Mayor, for allowing me to come speak. I come up here today to say that I have filed for Bay Winds District 2 or seat 2 for Community Development District for east side of Homestead for the vineyards. And so that is my candidacy for that office. And I just want to say, if y'all need anything for that, come Friday, we'll know everything that goes on there. But I'm here to serve, as you already know, for my community. Mayor, Vice Mayor Fairclough, any particular issues that we have to discuss, we can discuss over any other time. I just also want to say thank you for the 4th of July coming up. Looking forward to being out there with the rest of you and celebrating our nation's Independence Day. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comments at this time? I'll close the public hearing. Any additions, deletions, deferrals? None? Item 5 is a presentation legislative update. I know we've got some folks here, Jose Bermudez, Jose Diaz. Gentlemen, welcome. I'm sorry, Fuentes. Bermudez is the other team.
We have 3 Jose's on the team.
That's what's, I'm confused all the time.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor, members of the council. I just want to take one quick second to express my thank you to you all for the messages of condolences that I got from you all, from the manager and from staff on the passing of our founder, Bob Levy. It was really meant a lot to us, and thank the staff that helped us set up our meetings with you and our transition to discuss our transition with the firm going forward under my leadership now and the rest of the staff. So I just wanted to say thank you very much. I think I just wanted to give you, not to take up a lot of your time, session passed a while ago, but to kind of just give you a quick idea of what happened this session. You know, there were 1,814 bills, 279 of those bills passed. We're seeing as the years progress, we're seeing less and less legislation pass. It's harder to pass legislation. Personally, that's probably a good thing when it's hard to pass, because it keeps the bills that hurt you out of there. Budget-wise this year, we passed an $82.3 billion budget in the state. That is an increase. Last year, the budget was $78.6 billion. So we're seeing the budget going up. I will tell you that in our opinion, even though the economy is going better, I think you're going to see we have a leadership that's coming in that will be very fiscally responsible to the state. So I think you're not going to see too much more spending. They're going to do what they can do, return taxes to the citizens, to cut taxes and things like that. So I don't think we'll see a lot more spending coming from the state and things like that. Just to give you an idea of a couple of bills that we were able to, that we worked with our partners and with the Florida League of Cities to help kill for you. House Bill 579, the Municipal Power Regulation Bill, which could have increased the cost of running the power plant for you guys. We were able to work to kill that. Municipal elections, there was a bill that would have taken your power away on setting your own dates for your municipal elections and would have given them to the state. We were able to stop that also. There was a bill, just a heads up, there was a bill with term limits to move the term limits from 8 years to 12 years. And that also failed. And there was a legislation on the community services tax, which is really one of the few revenue sources that you all have that you control as where you spend it. And there's always been legislation to reduce that and to cut it. That legislation failed this year, so we were able to do that. Just to talk to you a little bit about the budget as what we were able to do for you all this year. As you know, we did $500,000 for the Seminole Theater, and we did $500,000 for the water pump, the pump station. Those did not get vetoed, so the money will be yours. So if you look at it over the last 2 years, we've brought down to you $1.5 million in state funding. And I'm sure that Mr. Fuentes will agree with me that we don't do that. It's our elected officials that represent the city that do that, so we owe a great deal of gratitude to Senator Dwight Bullard, Senator Gwen Margolis, who is retiring come November, so we'll miss her up in the state legislature. I know Representative Keone McGee is here, Representative Holly Roshine, And I'm glad to see that Senator Anna Terry Flores is here, and I don't know if they would like to say something. But Senator Anna Terry Flores really got that ball over the goal line for us this session in those late night meetings that happen behind closed doors, unfortunately, up there. But it is what it is, and so it was great to have her there pushing for Homestead, and it's going to be great having her represent the city of Homestead come November with the new drawn districts and stuff. So that's my report to you all. If you have any questions, I don't know if Mr. Fuentes.
No, just wanted to add, we really couldn't do it without our members. And as it was mentioned by Jose Diaz, the membership this year really stepped up to the plate and helped bring the money for Homestead once again. And I do want to especially thank, Dwight Bullard, Senator Bullard, Senator Margolis, who's retiring this legislative session and will be her last session after more than 40 years of public service. And then Keone McGee, who's extremely involved in this process, and Representative Rashine also, who worked in a kind of dynamic duel with Senator Anna Terry Flores. And it's important to note, it wasn't her district at the time. Homestead was not her city. She really didn't have to. She could have waited until she got elected or became the Senate member, but she thought it was important that this funding was made available for the city of Homestead. And without, I'd like to call the two members if possible.
No, that's what I'm going to do.
Oh, you do it.
No, we'd like to hear from Representative McGee, Senator Flores. I know we see what you guys do up there for us every day, and obviously both Jose's, the work that you do connecting us to our elected leadership. So thank you for everything. I mean, the manager always laughs at us because he says, "Why are you going to Tallahassee? We never get anything." Well, he doesn't laugh anymore. And it's because of what you folks have done for us and what these people have done coming up and asking, and we've been specific with our request. And that's, I think that's what's helped you to be able to kind of hone in on what we need and our lobbyist groups. So please say a few words for us.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to the council. First, briefly, for those people who might not know me and might be thinking, well, who's, this girl, why is she here? I am a state senator now, and my state Senate district the state Senate districts all changed rather dramatically, and so I got to be the beneficiary in the new Senate district to get to inherit the city of Homestead, Florida City, South Dade, and actually all of the Florida Keys, along with the other parts of my district that I have right now that are north of here around the FIU area. Dwight Bullard, who is someone who is a close friend, who has represented, he and his family have represented South Dade very well for several years. His district also changed, and so now he'll be representing folks in a different area. And so for those of you who don't know me, hopefully you will get to know me because I feel incredibly blessed that I get to have inherited the incredible city of Homestead. In the last couple of months already that we've been working together, we see the great work that you all have done, the vision that exists for the city of Homestead. It is fantastic. And I can pledge to you, both myself, on behalf of Representative McGee, that, I know everybody knows Keone, but I'll tell you what, you always want him on your side. You always want him on your side. He's never going to take no for an answer. But the partnership of having myself, along with Representative McGee and Representative Rashine in the House, I would say, start getting those requests in early. Start being, I firmly believe that you have to ask for as much as you can. The worst thing that can happen is that people tell you no. Right? So we need to be realistic with what are the requests, but if there are, I know that there are so many needs for the residents, for the infrastructure, for the community. Get those requests ready because we're gonna have a really, really great several years up in Tallahassee. This year was just the beginning. It's been fantastic to work with you. Like I said, Keone's been an amazing partner, and we're gonna keep working hard to continue to ensure that Homestead prosper even more. So again, thank you all so very much. We're happy to answer any questions. I know that Keone wanted to say a couple words as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you. Thank you, Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and to the council, and thank you all for allowing us to be here. I got to say, first and foremost, you have two of the greatest lobbyists I've ever seen. They come in, they work, they know their materials inside and out, and Jose, the double Jose's, they get the job done. And I know Jose talked about the number of bills we had an opportunity to pass this year, and I'm happy to say that as a product of Homestead, two of those bills belong to me. that we were able to get passed on behalf of the constituency here. And in addition to that, I just want to say, again, a special thank to Senator Flores. Many of you know how the process works. 12 midnight, 11 a.m., 12 midnight, 11 a.m., I'm calling Senator Flores to get money and getting things into the budget. And I got to be honest with you, this is the one person, the one senator who always returned my call. And as a matter of fact, we saw what her resolve was able to bring back to both this city and the cities south of here. So with that said, I just want to say thank you. I will continuously work on behalf of the city, and I just want to be continuously an asset to you all, and thank you very much.
Representative, I want to say one thing to you, and I want to say a special thanks for your championing of the busway corridor, which is now the South Dade Transportation Corridor, which is very near and dear to South Dade, Homestead, Florida City, Cutler Bay, Palmetto Bay, Pinecrest, and the forward motion that you've been, and the pressure that you've been able to help us put as a collaborative group to really move this ball forward. And you took that seriously, and you took that head on, and you individually made the difference. And I think we're where we are today in a much better position than where we were before you took this over. So personally, thank you for that. We may now have the opportunity to be the #1 corridor that needs to be addressed, and that may be addressed. I mean, it's still out there, but I just wanted to personally thank you for really championing that effort and being there for South Dade, all of South Dade, and even areas that you don't represent directly. But I appreciate that very much.
Thank you.
And Senator, I know you've got the full support of the council from the dais, and we hope and pray and the best for you through the election, and hope to be standing here after the election, welcoming you to our district to represent us in Tallahassee. So, and thank you for what you've done for us in the past, even not representing us. So we're blessed. We're blessed as a community. And Jose, thank you guys both.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, if I may just add 2 points. One thing, we're going to have 16 new senators this year, and we're going to have 43 to 48 new House members. And having seasoned members up there like this is going to be even more important for us, because we're going to have a lot of educating to do. And I would be remiss, Mr. Mayor, if I didn't make the point that you made. We couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. Jose couldn't do it. We couldn't do it if it wasn't for the trips you all made up to Tallahassee, because there's 120 House members and 40 senators that we have to touch base with. And having you all up there going door to door in those halls, knocking office to office, is crucial to get done what we get done up there. Thank you very much.
Hold on one second. We've got Vice Mayor has a question. Vice Mayor?
Just a comment. I'd like to thank our lobbying team for the role that you played into bringing those dollars back to the city of Homestead, because previously it was a drought for the city, but because of your hard work and advocacy, we have been successful for the past 2 years. But I recognize your work had to be endorsed and positively supported by our delegation that represents the city of Homestead, and I'm honored to work alongside of you and call you my colleagues, but I'm even more honored that there's a female coming into the mix, and that is Senator Anna Terry Flores. Very powerful, and I know that the best is still yet to come for the city of Homestead because of this woman that we're about to have represent us in Tallahassee for the city of Homestead. So thank you for the work that you do.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other questions from council? Thank you all very much. Appreciate you taking the time to come and address us. Thank you. The next item is the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
Move it.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. If at this time I'd like to request we move tab 23 up. It's a grant. Any opposition to moving 23 up? Mr. Manager, tab 23. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Attorney.
Yes, this is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, authorizing the acceptance of a grant from the Homestead Center for the Arts in an amount not to exceed $20,000 for the renovation of the boardroom in the Seminole Theater, authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement for the acceptance of the grant, providing for implementation, and providing for an effective date.
Mr. Deal.
Mayor, council, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Larry Deal. I'm the current president of the Homestead Center for the Arts. The Homestead Center for the Arts was founded in America's bicentennial year, originally to collect money and construct a building for the arts. Apparently, it was to be in the parking lot of the old City Hall over in US 1. Not enough money was collected over the years, and ultimately, Hurricane Andrew put an end to that project. The Center for the Arts was the first resident nonprofit to rent monthly meeting space from the Seminole. Our affiliate members provide time and talent for many shows there. HCA spends time planning future events there, not only music, but film productions and stage dramas, and the place has become a cultural hub for the whole community. It makes sense to continue improving that space. The restored Seminole Theater fulfills the original mission of the city's oldest arts organization, that of a permanent community arts meeting place. The board of the Center of the Arts is gifting its founding dowry to the city for the use in the theater in gratitude for its restoration. I want to specifically thank Red McAllister, our immediate past president, and City Manager George Gretzis. I'm sorry, Kate, you'll have to fill in for him. People whose joint vision made all of this very possible. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any questions from council? I'll open up the public. This is a public comment section. If you'd like to say anything towards, in opposition or support for this resolution. Close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
Move it.
Second. Moved and seconded. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Yes.
Councilman Maldonado?
Yes.
Councilman Williams? Yes. Councilman Roth?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Faircloth?
Yes.
Mayor Porter?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Motion carries. Thank you very much.
you all
Appreciate
very
it. Very
much.
well appreciated. Going to go back to tab 13, which-
James is going to handle this.
public hearings. Mr. Cord, Mr. White.
Yes, Mayor, this is the quasi-judicial section of the agenda this evening. Please be advised that the following items on the agenda are quasi-judicial in nature. If you wish to comment upon any of these items, please indicate the item number you would like to address when the announcement regarding the quasi-judicial item is made. An opportunity for persons to speak on each item will be made available after the applicant and staff have made their presentations on each item. Swearing in, all testimony, including public testimony and evidence, will be made under oath or affirmation. Additionally, each person who gives testimony may be subject to cross-examination. If you do not wish to either be cross-examined or sworn, your testimony will be given its due weight. The general public will not be permitted to cross-examine witnesses, but the public may request the council to ask questions of staff or witnesses on their behalf. The full agenda packet on each item is hereby entered into the record. Persons representing organizations must present evidence of their authority to speak for the organization. Further details of the quasi-judicial procedures may be obtained from the clerk. In accordance with Code Section 2-591, any lobbyist must register before addressing the council on any of the following items. At this time, council members must disclose any ex parte communications concerning any items on the agenda. Hearing none at this time, the clerk will swear in any persons who wish to testify on the following quasi-judicial items.
Please stand, raise your right hand, and repeat after me. I, please state your name, hereby swear or affirm that the information I present shall be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help me God. Thank you. You may be seated.
Mayor, tab 13, 14, and 15 all pertain to the same project. I can introduce each one of those items. You all can have a collective public hearing on them and then take a separate vote on each.
Okay.
Tab 13 is a resolution of the City of Homestead, Florida, granting a special exception requested by 33030 Realty Partners, LLC, to permit commercial retail use exceeding 20,000 square feet of usable floor area on an approximately 5.7 acre parcel of property located on Campbell Drive between Northeast 13th Avenue and Northeast 15th Avenue as legally described in Exhibit A and providing for an effective date. Tab 14 is a resolution of the City of Homestead, Florida, granting site plan approval requested by 33030 Realty Partners, LLC, for an approximately 46,000 square foot multi-tenant commercial retail shopping center on an approximately 5.7 acre parcel of property located on Campbell Drive between Northeast 13th Avenue and Northeast 15th Avenue, as legally described in Exhibit A, and providing for an effective date. And finally, tab 15, it's a resolution of the City of Homestead, Florida, granting the request by 33030 Realty Partners for tentative plat approval for an approximately 46,000 square foot multi-tenant commercial retail shopping center on approximately 5.7 acre parcel of property located on Campbell Drive between Northeast 13th Avenue and 15th Avenue, as legally described in Exhibit A, and providing for an effective date.
Staff report, Mr. Cordino?
Yes, sir. We are recommending approval for all three, the special exception, the site plan, and the T-plat. And this is a three-pronged application in a sense with three different applications because the primary issue is the site plan. You need to come in and do a site plan for the 46,000 square feet of development. One of the buildings, however, is over 20,000 square feet, and the code requires that that go through a special exception. And then there's the ministerial duties of the T-plat, which will later become a plat. So we've reviewed all of this to our code. The site plan has met all the zoning criteria that it needs to meet to be approved, so we're recommending approval for that. The special exception we reviewed to the code meets all of the criteria in the special exception permits, and we're approving that, and same with the T-plat. The Planning and Zoning Board on each case voted 4-0 to approve. So with that, we're recommending approval.
Any questions from council on either of those three tabs? Okay. Mr. Roth?
I just have a question about the property to the south of that. And in my map, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, this development is going from the east to the west in what is looked like it's noted as the B2 area, but the B1 area, is it becoming landlocked?
There's an access easement that's going to be dedicated so that they can access the B2 area.
The B1 area is what?
I'm sorry, the B1 area, through the B2 area to the B1 area. So there will be an access easement.
These are two different property owners, right?
Yes, sir.
So the only access the B1 property will have is through the B2.
Correct.
There's nothing to the south that they can have access to this?
Not right now, perhaps with the B1 property. No, it doesn't look like they can connect from the south. They need to connect through the B2 property. That's why we have the access easement.
Has this property owner that's giving access from the B2 to the B1, did they have a problem with this scenario?
We contacted them, they agreed, so there was no issue with it on their point of view.
Okay, as long as they understand that there's only going to be access to this property from and through that front property, it's just kind of a concern to me, but if they have no problem with it, then I won't have a problem with it either. That's all.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Burgess?
Thank you, Mayor. So, Mr. Cordino, because we okayed a hotel site on that B1 property back there several years ago.
Okay.
You're telling me that you spoke with Prime Home Group and they have no problem with just a small road going back through there and that the easement or whatever is going to be sufficient to supply the ingress and egress that's needed for a hotel?
Yes, we've spoken.
Without any law problems or lawsuits?
Let me reconfirm with staff, but yeah, we made contact with the ownership and there were no issues.
Because if we haven't, we don't need to go any further tonight.
What this is an old site plan that's actually come back. So this access easement that kind of splits the B1, the B2 properties and winds through, you can see on the graphics in the site plan, was previously approved before and was okay with them at that point. So we don't have any, they don't have any issues with this. And
So the easement that's in place is going to be the width of a legal road?
oh yes, sir. It's really the
And
ingress-
sidewalks if needed for walking in and out of there?
It's the width of the ingress with a median for, and this is the applicant Jose Padilla, we can explain in detail, but yes, it's basically a two-lane divided road with an entrance and exit lane and a median in the middle. Is that
Okay.
correct, Mr. Padilla?
Yes, that's correct. By the way, we are the original developers of the entire 20-acre parcel, and we sold that site to Prime. And when we sold it to them, there was an access agreement that we all agreed to and we recorded.
I
So
just
they're
want to
very-
make sure that they're aware of what's going on and all that
No,
back there.
actually, we're in communication with them
Okay.
as your staff. So, it's a small world. So we all work in the same business, but I appreciate you guys wanting to make sure that there's no issues.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Joe.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Williams?
Did you say that, is it part of our packet, or did you say it's on file, recorded?
Oh, sir, it's part of your package.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, the dedication is recorded, but the graphics are part of the package. The dedication has already been recorded with the proper group, but the site plan is in, all the graphics of the entrance and exit are in the
Right.
package.
I'm saying what he just.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, what he just said as it relates to the agreement of the access points. You said that that's recorded. I'm saying, is it in our packet? Or is it just, you're saying it's recorded where?
You want me to respond to that, or?
Yeah, it's not.
It's recorded at the county. When we originally sold the property to Prime, there was an agreement that was, we came to relative to access and sharing of costs associated with maintaining the road.
Thank you.
Any other questions from council? This is a public hearing, so I'll open up the public hearing at this time. Anyone would like to speak for or against this, you're welcome to come forward to the podium. I'll close the public hearing at this time. Any other questions? Mr. Burgess, sorry.
Thank you, sir. I guess my question to the applicant is, because strip malls aren't my favorite thing, and I hate to call it that's what you're going to build, a strip mall, and basically that's what it is, with some different architectural for people to look at. Because my fear is, as we build these things, what I see come in them is medical centers. And although that does help some citizens, I think we've got an abundant number of those down here. And if I'm going to give an exception tonight, and I want to make sure we're going to get services that are going to help our citizens. Because I don't need to see, and it's nothing against Leal or any of the other medical centers, but I don't want to see 20,000 foot of medical center take up your building. I would be very disappointed if I gave you a special exception tonight, and that's what we end up seeing, because we need other services for our people down here. We need restaurants. We need other small stores that can help us sustain down here where we don't have to travel to other areas. So I know you may or may not have tenants, but that's where I'm at on this project.
Mr. Burgess, I understand your view, and all I can say to you is that we've been pre-marketing the site already, and the interest that we're getting is from a number of different tenants and uses, and I wish I could tell you today.
I know it's tough.
By the way, we're not going to lease space to a tenant, whether it, but it's the nature of the business. And in fact, one of the things that we've been communicating with your staff on is that we have 2 out parcels, and that we've identified them as one as a potential bank use and the other one as a potential restaurant use. But again, the issue that comes up, unfortunately, with shopping centers, whether they be neighborhood retail centers or strip centers or community centers, shopping centers in general, is that it's very difficult to predict what you're going to get. So what we're doing is we're actively marketing today to a number of different people, and we've had a lot of great interest. So part of what we've discussed with staff is would we be given flexibility under the code to be able to lease to other uses beyond just a bank and a restaurant. And the indication that we've gotten is that, yes, in fact, we would be able to, as long as it falls within the zoning code of B2.
Right.
But again, I understand your concern, and obviously, if we can find a use that makes better sense for the entire community, well, God bless, we're going to try to do it.
Okay. Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Those were my concerns as well, because Homestead, we have our share of strip malls. So when it comes to a special exemption, I was reading your application to determine what were the plans for the property. And I see within the packet that there are, I guess, preliminary plans for a bank with a with drive-through lanes and a restaurant building. But you really can't say at this point what would actually go there. And I know you're marketing and trying to determine which tenants would be there, but if there comes to a point where you don't have any tenants and you're back against the wall, I don't want to see another, I don't want to call out any businesses, but I just don't want to see something that we already have a litany of in the city of Homestead. So I don't know where I'm going with this tonight, but I'm very hard pressed for a special exemption for a strip mall, essentially, that I have no idea what's going there. So we'll see.
I understand your view, and again, we have been in contact with quite a few potential tenants, and out of those, there's maybe been very little interest so far for what I think you tend to not be wanting to have in the center. But again, it's early in the process. We've only actively started marketing this since the beginning of May. So from your mouth to God's ears, that we can get something that makes sense for all of us.
Mr. Cordino, which of the buildings, are the buildings in the rear the ones that are getting the special exception because they're above the 20,000 threshold?
Yeah, the larger ones.
The rear building?
Correct.
What about the, obviously Campbell Drive is a little overwhelmed as we speak. And what kind of analysis have you done, or is there any analysis been thought of with regards to Campbell, and is there going to be a potential, those two properties together are going to create a lot of turn in and turn out, and are you anticipating some sort of a traffic signal?
No, sir. We did the traffic analysis for concurrency, checked out fine, and so there were no negative issues. Any of the negativity we were able to pick up with the proposed ingress and egress that we have there. There's not a signal there, right? There's no signal, correct? So it didn't warrant a signal. In the future, if it does warrant a signal, we can do a signal warrant analysis, which is really just it's got to hit several points relative to volumes and turning movements and those types of things, at which point the county would mandate a signal there.
Who would pay for that at that time?
That's a county road, which is Campbell, so I believe it's a county and probably the applicant.
Well, that's what I'm
Push
asking.
that back to you, but it's really under county jurisdiction.
The merge lanes, I guess the turn lanes are
All
already
of that
accounted for?
is capable right now of handling, all of what is designed is capable of handling the volume of traffic that we anticipate out there now and generated by this development.
What about the development to the rear? I know it's not that, that's going to have to, be taken into consideration because it's twice the size as the property at the front.
At the time that applicant comes in with a site plan, there'll be another traffic impact analysis to measure that applicant's traffic that he puts on the road. At that time, it very well may warrant different signalization or lanes or whichever, and that'll be addressed at that time. And the applicants take care of their fair share of the traffic. When this applicant came in, nature of the traffic didn't have a negative impact that we couldn't pick up with what we put in the road now. The next applicant will go through the same thing. He may trip the threshold of the level of service and have to do a lane addition or signal or whichever.
And it may have been asked, but is there any access from the rear? I thought at one point in time this property had some rear to the west.
There's a multifamily development to the rear with no dedicated access right now. It backs up. It's got developments on both sides. There's the potential for access through a driveway to a multifamily facility on the southwest of the B1 property. There's also the potential for access to the south, but nothing formal yet. And if it was needed at the time of that development, we would have to work with those property owners to get it.
Fair enough. All right, sir, thank you. Mr. Burgess?
Thank you, Mayor.
right away.
Can you explain to me your definition of no impact on the road, no negative impact? Because that road is an F road already, and any impact on that road is going to have a negative impact. So I want to know what your definition of negative impact is as a professional.
Again?
Again.
We understand that every trip that an applicant puts on the road has an impact to that road. But the state.
Well, let me stop you too, because with no signalization, people trying to turn left in and out of there and coming back across that road, which you already stop, can take you 6 lights to get from 18th Avenue from just west of his place there. You can sit there for six lights to get through at 18th Avenue, which is just to the east of him. So anything is a negative impact in my eyes.
And I don't disagree with you, that every trip has an impact on the road. But when we look at concurrency, we start to look at the level of service and through the state rules and the county rules of did you surpass a level of service threshold? And if you don't, you really don't have the opportunity to have the developer mitigate anything. In this case, he didn't cross those thresholds, and therefore there was no mitigation. So I don't think anybody can argue with you that every trip.
And that threshold is the amount of trips that are made per day in and out of his project?
That threshold is the number of trips that he generates applied to the road based on the ultimate capacity of the road added to the utilization of the road currently. So you got a capacity of X amount, you've got a utilization of Y that's already out there, the existing traffic, you put his trips on top of it, and if it doesn't go over the capacity, or not the total capacity, but the level of service threshold, then he doesn't have to mitigate.
One day I'm going to figure your formulas out.
No, well, you're not. But there are things, other cities have put per trip fees in place for traffic, which, some place like Miami Beach have that, and where they'll charge you, no matter how many trips you come, you pay X dollars per trip to get the development done. You put that into a fund and then implement a capital improvement program. We simply don't have that, though.
Okay, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. That was, Joe, that was going to be my next question. I know that we have a threshold or a trigger and where we could, ask for, get some mitigation in regards to the developers. But in this case, since we don't have that mechanism in place, what would be our only way of making our own impact in that area? And I agree with my colleagues. I mean, I drive through there on a daily basis, and, at 11 o'clock or through 1 o'clock when everyone's at work, it's fine. But once we start getting into the later hours of the day, if I go to Racetrack gas station and I try to get out of there, it's a nightmare. And same thing if I go to Lowe's, if I want to go out from Lowe's and make a left to head towards GS1, that's a nightmare as well. And so, we're waiting a significant amount of time to get out of those locations. I know that we've not triggered again that process in those roads, but we as residents, that is impacting us. And so I agree with my colleagues, and I see that this is going to be, it's going to impact that area, which is already impacted. What can we do to mitigate that if that would be the need, or is there any other way we get funding to make that happen? And another question is, do we have any mapping on the roads? So the roads, the 312 does not change at all. There's not going to be any turning lanes from east to west, turning in left?
I think they're adding is it east or west? There's a deceleration lane, which is basically additional lane to allow people to get out of the flow of traffic and make a turn into the property. That's I think that's going eastbound, so that people can get out of the eastbound flow and not have to clog up the actual 2 travel lanes when they make the turn. So it's a lane that will be to the south of the 2 travel lanes. The automobile that wants to turn into the property will merge into that, get out of the flow of traffic, and will be able to make its a right-hand turn into the property. And the distance of that is calculated through a formula of how much traffic we really anticipate turning into that. And that's how we work the formula back to get a lane so you don't have people clogging traffic. And it's through those types of things that we were able to make sure that there was no negative impact to the level of service of the road. Councilman Burgess said, even adding a trip adds another car, adds a period of delay to it, but you're still not getting over the level of the service threshold. So there's a couple of things that can be done. One, I think the level of service threshold is D. You could make it more stringent. You could make it C or C plus 50. And so the issue is that you have to live up to that level of service. And if you don't, then you need to, well, you have to, or development would stop. So you would get the applicants or the county or whomever to pitch in to fund to get the road to operate at level of service C. But level of service D is the county and statewide standard for a facility like this. Other cities have done other things like put together capital improvement programs and then then fund them with a per trip fee that you would put on a developer. And in the cases, you may have an applicant come in and you may assess the total cost of your capital improvement program, the total number of trips that you would develop over a period of time, and just flat out say, okay, it's going to be $2 a trip. And you charge them, they pay it, it goes into your fund, and then you would implement improvements as, say, the Public Works Department would see on the streets as they were warranted. And that's another way of doing it.
We're going to have to work on that soon, but I could already foresee this, and once it gets built, I want everyone to recognize when it happens. I think that the problem is when they're coming out, making a left-hand turn, going east, when they're coming out of the facilities of that area, if they're going to make a left-hand turn, I'd like to see how that's going to happen, because you're usually crossing two lanes, trying to get into another lane, and that's where a lot of the accidents that we're having over there, right across the street from where I live, where we have that Dairy Queen over there. You know, when it was built for left or right-hand turns, where they're making a right-hand turn and they're doing a U-turn in one of the other entrances, and there are times where there's a small section where there is an entrance, a west to east entrance, that will allow them into the property. And a lot of times cars try to sneak through that, and there's been some major accidents that happened in the area. So, you know, I don't want to continue to see that. I just addressed that with Dennis Maytan in Parks and Recreation, because even the medium where it's, you know, kind of covered with trees, that's an issue. So, and that's a little bit down, you know, where I live, where the Dairy Queen is, that's a little bit less traffic. But once we get it over here, closer towards US 1 on 12th Street and on 12th Avenue, we have some really heavy traffic there. So that's my major concern when I saw this. I knew this eventually was going to come here, and this property was eventually going to get developed. And I wasn't sure about that what was going to be in the back section where the B1 is. But now that Councilman Byrd just mentioned that, that's going to be a lot of traffic. So I'll hold my comments a little bit later.
But Joe, I mean, look, I mean, from a serious point of view, if you take the traffic that comes out of off of Kingman and goes and gets in line to go across 2 lanes of traffic to go on the turnpike, not that you're going to have quite that much activity, but this is really the same thing. You've got to pull into a deceleration lane in the middle. That's in the plans, is what I saw.
Yes, sir. You've got a
left-hand turn from the east.
You've got a left-hand turn from the east and another lane right-hand turn from the west.
From the
so
west.
There's
So both
two
of them-
ways of getting traffic that wants to access this development out of the flow, out of the 2 travel lanes into their own lane so that they can make turns. So we don't need a signal because those 2 lanes were able to accommodate the queuing volume of both of those movements.
Isn't it going to be hard to get a signal as close to an additional, there's already a signal 200 yards away or 100 yards away?
Those things, the county would take those things into account when it did the warrant analysis for the signals. And Julio may be able to answer better, but I believe if it's warranted, I don't know if there's a lateral distance proximity or not, but yeah, that they would be taking those things into account.
Yeah, part of the study that they do when they perform a warrant analysis for a traffic signal is they look at the proximity of obviously other traffic signals in the area. One thing that they do look at is they look at it more. Traffic signals are looked at more in terms of safety than in terms of capacity. A traffic signal will not increase capacity through a roadway. It basically controls the flow through to allow different movements to take place at different times. So in this case, what they would look at is to see how the impact from this particular development and I know that they're not looking at what's happening, what's going to happen behind it, because nobody knows what's going to happen there, so they can't take that into account. But what they try to do is predict what kind of flow that's gonna be generated by this development, and they add that to the equation of the flow that they have through the roadway, and see if it triggers, like Joe was saying, if it triggers a traffic light to be put in place there. But in terms of capacity, a traffic signal will not add capacity to this roadway. What does add capacity to this roadway, which is part of the design, is the deceleration lane going eastbound and the turn lane going westbound into the property. Those two are designed to take out the traffic that's going to access this development off of the flow of the east-west flow of Campbell Drive.
I know in the past when we've asked the county to give us a signal, as an example, some of the times they would say, well, you've got a signal too close. And that's been their reasoning behind it. Now, but you go to the busway where they put all those signals in place. You got a signal beside a signal beside a signal.
Correct.
So the argument, I guess my concern is, if it's justified or if it's warranted at some point in time, are they going to come back and say, well, it's too close to the signal on the next closest road? So
From looking at this, where this light would be located, I don't think that's going to be an issue in terms of distance at all. It's not going to be an issue in this case, but you're absolutely right about the busway, that those were designed more out of need than out of preference of following a particular design standard, and there was no other way to control the traffic through there without putting traffic signals closer than they would like to.
All right, sir. Mr. Burgess?
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Brea, refresh my memory. It took us at least 2 years to get a light where one was warranted, wasn't it? Over at Pacific and Kingman? Didn't we fight the county for 2 years after they told us that that a light was deemed necessary at that particular intersection?
Correct, yes, you're correct.
So that's another one of my issues is, okay, the county comes in after we get them to show up down here, and they say, okay, we'll come study. Then every light that I've ever asked for help on getting in the city, we had one where we had 10 fatalities before they came down here and put a stoplight up. 10. That should have been done after the first, or with the first request. That light took 3 years. The next light I asked for took 2 years. So I don't have any faith in the county helping us with this situation, or a stoplight for that matter. But anyway, I'll leave it at that, Mayor, and I'm ready to vote whenever you are.
Mr. Roth?
Yeah, I want to kind of concur with everyone here. And exiting this property, there's a designated left-hand turn lane onto Campbell Drive, which, as another colleague said, you're sending somebody into a two-lane area without any recourse on the other side for safety to making that left-hand turn as you'd be heading out to US 1. So in the site plan, I would feel more comfortable if there was no left-hand turn at all coming out of this property heading westbound on Campbell and forcing everybody to go east for safety reasons until a better design could be put in place for the safety of motorists trying to cross that two-lane highway, which at that point it might even be a three-lane highway because of the speed reduction lane that's in there too. So that's just my thought when it comes to safety for people. I mean, we have the same problem at Portofino East or Portofino West, where those residents try to come out of their property. There's no light. They're trying to come out and head west, and there's been several accidents there, and we can't get a traffic light there, and there's one warranted as well. So, it's just it's a safety thing. I've seen it too many times now, where there's accidents at the racetrack, at Portofino West, and there's no traffic control from those properties. So, I don't know about that designated turn lane to the west coming out of that property. Kind of bothers me. Joe, is there something we can do to safely design exiting that property to go to the west?
I think it's safely designed now. And the piece of safety that's in it that addresses your concern is the fact that if you look at, if you're heading westbound, there's that turning lane that turns into the property, right? And then the road has 2 lanes westbound and a median south of that. And so when a vehicle exiting the facility is going to take a left and go west, if it gets across the 2 travel lanes that are heading eastbound, there's a safe zone in there.
You said the perfect word, if it gets across.
Well,
If it gets across. This is, and I see what you're saying. So there's enough room in that medium strip where somebody can safely pull out of the property and idle until it's clear of traffic coming from the west.
So when there's, in what typically happens where, with the way the signals are designed, that they create gaps in traffic. And those gaps are sufficient that a vehicle that's exiting a facility is able to get across those two lanes. Now, they may not be able to immediately cross and get into the westbound lanes, but they'll be in that safe zone where the cars turning south from the turning lane won't be going through, and that's a safe haven for them to sit there. They're not pressured by the westbound traffic, and they're out of the eastbound traffic. That's essentially the width of a car that can sit in there. And then they'll wait for a gap in the traffic heading west, and then they'll move out. So this is a safe design. It's a typical design that is implemented in these areas and all of these essentially 2 4-lane divided highways that are county section line roads. So it's something that is done. This is the typical design for that without a signal.
I'm just trying to visualize it. So you're saying that there's the same space that's in front of the racetrack and that little strip center across from the racetrack where people can casually pull out and idly wait for traffic to pass so they can enter the roadway safely.
Yes, there is space in basically the median strip in between the 2 travel lanes where the median is, that a vehicle can stop safely and not get hit by cars going in either of those, in either eastbound or westbound. They can then wait for a gap in traffic and proceed.
Is there a better drawing in here that shows that? Because what we got, we need magnifying glasses to look at this stuff.
I've got,
Can it be put up on the screen here or no?
page you with this thing here.
And it dies right there. That's what we got. Oh, this is closer up. He's got a better picture.
Get the microphone, Joe. If you can, just.
Thank you. You can see that we have this is the entrance to the property. These are the travel lanes, eastbound and then westbound. You have this, can you see the deceleration lane that drops out of the travel lane so you can go in? And on the other side, you have a lane that drops out of the two travel lanes, and then drops out and goes south. So what happens is a car pulls out of here and can sit in this area here, basically this median spot, safe out of the 2 travel lanes, and rest before it proceeds, waiting for a gap in traffic. And that's the way these.
So now a guy that's coming out of that property trying to go to the west is sitting there waiting, and a guy coming from the west is waiting for him to move so he can get into the center.
No,
That's a stacking that will happen there. Is that coming out heading to the west? If you've got somebody coming from the east that's heading to the west that wants to pull into that area, it has to wait for that person to get out of the way. It just doesn't look like there's a lot of space there for all that maneuvering for these cars if they get across those 2 lanes of traffic.
It's enough space to handle the volume of this center. I mean, it's not the existing condition, but it's the condition that when you put these types of centers with these typical volumes on section line roads throughout the county, it's the design the county approves for those types of things. Now remember, it doesn't warrant a signal at this point in time, but this is the design the county will approve for that. It's standard engineering design for these types of section line roads.
Anything else, Mr. Roth?
No, I'll leave it at that.
Mr. Williams?
Yeah, when You say this is an old site plan. How old is the site plan?
The site plan dates back to probably 2005.
Right.
What ended up happening here, just to give you, may I give you a little bit more background, or do you have another question?
No, 2005, that tells me right there. Then, of course, we have evolved since 2000. So we're looking at, what, 11 years? Almost, something like that, to where, and when was the last traffic study done in this area, Joe, for something like this?
We did it through this one, right? This traffic study was for this. For this development right now, not the 2005 study. We had to do a new one, right?
Yes, we did a new one at the request of your staff, and it was done within the last
So
3 months, 4 months. And by the way, the county's viewed this as well, and they've approved everything we're doing here, and they've permitted it.
what is the recourse, Mayor? Because it seems like quite a few unanswered or questions or concerns because of this. Is there trying to establish if there's any, motion to defer this until all the questions are answered? Or is it we're trying to move this forward to come back on second reading with some
I was
of
going to
these?
say, is this for first reading, Joe? This is a two hearing.
This is one hearing.
This is
This is one here, so what is done tonight is final.
So what we do is, okay.
So I guess just hearing some of my colleagues' concerns, what is our next recourse? Because it doesn't sound like Mr. Roth is kind of satisfied with what we are and Mr. Burgess. And so I don't know, I'm just trying to see, I don't want your project to die here, but I think there's a lot of unresolved concerns is what I'm hearing, so.
Mr. White, and you still have the floor, Mr. Williams. Mr. White?
Yes, Mayor and Council. Just hearing the discussion that you all are having, I think in this case, it's probably warranted and maybe appropriate that, as Councilman Williams mentioned, perhaps deferring the item to the next meeting so that some of these issues that you've raised can be addressed, giving you all an opportunity to look at the whole design segue of Campbell Drive. I mean, the first two criteria of your special exception are compatibility and traffic. And this is a big project with 3 component parts. And as you all know, in making a determination, your decision has to be based on competent and substantial evidence. And so I want to make sure that you all have the proper information, or any questions that you may have can be properly addressed. So given the discussion and given the questions that you all have raised this evening, that would be my recommendation.
Mayor, if it's in order, then I move that we defer this item to the next council meeting that give results to the questions that need to be answered.
Moved and seconded. Any other questions? Anything, Mr. Williams?
No, thank you.
Mr. Burgess?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. And my comment is to the applicant. I'm sure it's going to be a great project, but what I'm not comfortable with giving an exception tonight, and I know that the staff said, okay, you've met the state's requirements. But I live here, I get stopped in Publix every day, I get stopped wherever I go. Campbell Drive is an impassable road, and I don't care what formula any traffic engineer brings to me. I will stand out there with him all day, and we will watch the suffering that people do trying to go up and down that road from one end at 137th all the way out to the west side of Homestead. And that's our major thoroughfare. We have numerous accidents on there. We have poor planning from way back whenever, and I'm not a guy that lets that happen anymore. I try to get things under control ahead of that and try to be proactive instead of reactive. And what is being asked of us tonight is to be reactive in maybe in a year or two if it's warranted. But the citizens of Homestead will tell you today that that's warranted. There's something that needs to be done on that road. And it's not to hold your project up, but we've got to set a tone down here and had the county start paying attention to our needs too, because we can't wait 2 years for a light, and I'm not gonna. And if you don't want to accept the deferral tonight, then I'll take back my second, and we'll do a vote, and whatever happens, happens.
I think clearly the deferral is the way to go, because simply, you know, everybody's got concerns about traffic. And I have a question with regards to, is there a median, Joe, from the entrance of this to the west? Because, I mean, the problem is you don't have any stacking. If we're gonna stack people in the middle of this 4-lane road, you're gonna have to do something to take some of those trees and some of that middle median out of there. It may be pretty, but it's affecting our ability to do. It looks like in the plan, and I can't remember exactly, but I think there's still a median there. And so it may be as simple as looking at something like that, because at any given point in time, county looks at a minimum standard. We don't want just a minimum standard. We need to really look at this more long range. What's the maximum we can get out of this right now to make this work? Not just for your project today. We have to think about the next project. I mean, I know it's not your responsibility to fix this problem now, but it's ours to look at the whole piece of property. And I concur with all the council's comments. Campbell Drive is a county road. The county is hard to deal with at best. And so we can approve something with the intentions of something happening from the county, and it never happens. So
I understand your view, and just so that you know, it took us almost 1 year to get, actually a year and 1 month to get our county approvals for the roadway work, because they were very specific and they were very concerned about traffic, especially traffic coming out of the project and traffic on the side streets. So, to speak to some of the concerns that you have, I was born and raised down here, not in Homestead, but in the Miami. And I used to come down here and play in the fields with a lot of friends of mine who are still farming down here. So the bottom line is I'm very familiar with what happens here. And I've actually sat outside on a Saturday, on a Sunday, and I've watched the traffic here. So I understand your concerns, and you folks need to do what you think is right, and we'll come back and we'll give you the answers that you need. That way you can feel comfortable with what we're working on doing. I can assure you of one thing, that your staff has basically done their job, because quite frankly, this was approved. We started this project in 2005, and we got it finally approved, I think it was in 2010, and then we let some of these, because the market had shifted, we said, let's go ahead and wait a couple of years to see if there's any activity in the marketplace. And as you guys know that live here on a day-to-day basis, things really up until a couple of years ago were probably, some people would say, quiet. And now things seem to be coming back. So we decided that we'd come back to the city, your staff, and attempt to see if we could get our plan reapproved. And quite frankly, we tried to do this administratively, and your staff, correctly so, said that we needed to go through the entire process again to make sure that their team had a chance to relook at this again, to give you folks the opportunity to comment. And again, I understand you're doing what you think is best, and we're going to do our best to respond to your needs and the questions you have.
Joe, let's see if we can get some stacking somewhere for the westbound out. And I don't know, and I don't know if that's enough for the council, but I mean, right now, there's really no stacking if you do want to take out of that piece of property and go westbound. You see it in front of Home Depot in Florida City. You see it in a lot of places where you got people just pulling out in the middle. The left-hand turn person is trying to get through, and then you've got just a disaster and a nightmare. And this is the way this is designed. And it's a minimum standard, but I think if you could pull out and possibly stack in the center of the 4-lane, not having the trees there, maybe that's enough for the council. I don't know. But this is a problem. Okay.
If I may, just to clarify. So what I was thinking about doing was going back and exploring a multitude of options for how to solve the problem. So the first one would be, can we put a signal? The second one would be to increase the stacking for the left-hand turns out. The third one would be maybe eliminating the left-hand turn, so you don't even have that condition anymore, and seeing what that would do to it. And we'll just get with the engineers, the civil engineers, and try to figure out designs for these types of things, starting with those three things.
Would you reach out to the council members individually and give them that ahead of the next meeting so that we're not trying to look at these little
Yes, sir. We'll set up,
drawings and
if you want, we'll set up individual meetings and go over the results of the studies.
at their
with,
availability, but I
their-
think that
your
may help
convenience.
us through
Yes,
the
sir. We'll
process.
bring big drawings so we can all see them.
Mr. Burgess?
Thank you. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Gotcha.
I agree with the mayor. Mr. Cordino, I think the left-hand turn coming out of there, I don't think you can stop somebody from doing that probably legally. I mean, we could, but it's, we could legally probably stop them, but it's not ever going to stop because we see it all over town where people still do it. I agree with the mayor that perhaps that median to the west needs to be done away with for two reasons. Not just one, that you're having people that come out and give them a stacking lane, but two, the people that you're going to move over turning in there are going to be looking at palm trees that are about 3 feet wide, if I'm correct, or whatever it is there that may inhibit the ability for them to see the eastbound traffic clearly also. So I agree that median needs to have some work done on it to the westbound side, whether it's removal and made into a center turn lane or what it is, with tree removal and stuff like that, because I think both sides are going to be affected. The exit side is affected because they don't have anywhere to go stack other than in the middle of the road sitting as a T-bone position, basically. And secondly, the people that are coming westbound and turning in will have difficulty seeing the eastbound traffic through the trees and the other stuff that are in the median. So I would suggest that perhaps that would be a starting point for you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Okay, there's a motion to defer 14, 15, and 16 to the next council meeting. 13, 14, 15?
Yeah, Mayor, and just for clarification, that would be to a date certain of July 27th. Elizabeth, is that correct?
Okay. Roll call, Madam Clerk. To defer.
Yes, Councilman Williams and Councilman
John seconded
Burgess.
it. Mr. Williams made the motion.
Councilman Roth?
Yes.
Councilman Williams?
Yes.
Councilman Burgess?
Yes.
Councilman Maldonado? Vice Mayor Fairclough? Mayor Porter?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you in 30-plus days. We're on tab 16, correct?
Yes, sir.
Mr. White?
13, 14, and 15.
Yes, Mayor. Moving on to tab 16 on your agenda. Tab 16 is a final order of the City of Homestead, Florida, granting a certificate of use requested by Elnica Mex Restaurant Corp. to permit the sale of beer and wine for on-premises consumption in conjunction with the operation of a restaurant located at 36 Northeast 15th Street, and further granting a waiver of the location requirements for the on-premise sale and consumption of beer and wine as legally described in Exhibit A and providing for an effective date.
Mr. Cordino, report.
Yes, sir. We're recommending approval of this final order requesting the certificate of use and waiver of location requirements. Nicomex is one of the properties that the city bargained with and in the new downtown. We are trying to move this along. We've reviewed it based on our city code pursuant to section 3-11C, 3-11D, analyzed the request and determined the applicant demonstrates compliance with those specified criteria in both of those code categories, not only for the certificate of use, but for the waiver of location requirements. So we're recommending approval. The Planning and Zoning Board recommended approval 6-0 in their meeting.
Any questions from council? Is the applicant here? I'll open up the public hearing at this time.
On behalf of Elnica Restaurant. We're not adding anything new. It's basically replacing what was right off of the park over here. And it's not like they have a full taps and bars and all of that. They have a little cooler that they have their Coronas that go with the tacos and some wine. So they've done a fabulous job on what was a big eyesore over there, cleaned it all up. and have become really good neighbors. So basically, we're just asking for the final formal approval for the beer and wine permit that they did have in the other location.
Okay, this is a public hearing. If you'd like to speak for or against, you're welcome to at this time. Mr. Burgess?
Mr. Cordino, just a quick, they're not allowed to sell beer for somebody to take on a takeout order,
No,
correct?
sir,
It
it's
has to be consumed inside.
on-premises consumption only with the
Thank you,
stuff.
thank you.
Mr. Burgess. Close the public hearing. Is there any final comments from council? Is there a motion? Moved by Mr. Roth, seconded by Mr. Burgess. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Williams? Yes. Councilman Maldonado? Yes. Councilman Roth? Councilman Burgess? Yes. Vice Mayor Faircloth?
Yes.
Mayor Porter?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you.
Moving on to your next and final quasi-judicial items, tab 17. Tab 17 is a final order of the City of Homestead, Florida, granting a certificate of use requested by Consolidated Wings Investment, LLC, doing business as Buffalo Wild Wings, to permit the sale of beer, wine, and spirits for on-premises consumption in conjunction with the operation of a restaurant located at 2580 Northeast 10th Court, as legally described in Exhibit A, and providing for an effective date.
Mr. Cordino?
Yes, sir, we are recommending approval of this as well. This is a certificate of use for the Buffalo Wild Wings. Again, they're going to sell beer and wine and spirits for on-premises consumption only. We evaluated it, again, to the same sections of the code, 3-11C. We've realized that it did meet the criteria of our code and took it to the Planning and Zoning Board. They approved it 6-0.
Is there questions from council? Mr. Williams?
Yes. How long has Buffalo Wild Wings been in the pipeline from the start of the application to this part?
Hold on. Not very long. I want to say maybe May, April.
Yes, ma'am. Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, members of the council. My name is Valerie Haber, the law firm of Gray Robinson with offices at 333 Southeast 2nd Avenue. On behalf of the applicant, Consolidated Wings Investment. I'll give you a brief background on the applicant. We have several representatives of the applicant here tonight. The principals of this applicant entity have a very long history in the restaurant business. They are successfully operating 17 Buffalo Wild Wings locations in Indiana. This is their first location in Miami-Dade County. The main principal of the applicant entity was previously the president of Papa John's. He's been in this business for 40 years. They have very strong operation teams in place ready to start this business. They are currently in the building permitting process. They have obtained their demolition permit. They are at the end stages of obtaining their full building permit. They intend to open in mid-August. And we are here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mayor.
That's all? Thank you, Mr. Williams. Any other questions from council? Okay, this is a public hearing. Anyone would like to speak? Mr. McDuffie, I know you said you'd like to.
As a fan of the Buffalo Wild Wings franchise, come right across from the office in Cutler Bay, I would have to say that I'm looking forward to seeing this move forward. So I recommend to my councilwoman to please vote yes on this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Second.
Moved and seconded, moved by Mr. Burgess, seconded by Mr. Roth. I'm closing the public hearing at this time. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Roth? Councilman Maldonado? Yes. Councilman Burgess? Yes. Vice Mayor Faircloth?
Yes.
Councilman Williams? Yes. Mayor Porter?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. Ordinances, tab 18. Mr. Attorney.
Mr. Mayor, this is an ordinance for first reading that expands the membership of the Education Committee. I'll read the title for you. It's an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending Article 3, Boards, Committees, Commissions of Chapter 2, Administration of the City of Homestead Code of Ordinances by amending Section 2-68, Membership Qualifications, and Section 111, creation, composition, and qualifications, increasing the membership of the Education Committee, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, providing for codification, and providing for an effective date.
Anything from staff on this? Nothing? Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. I would just like to thank my colleagues for their unanimous support when this was before us previously, and I ask for your support now because expanding the membership on this committee increases our ability to form functional committees to be able to provide targeted support to our schools as opposed to a one-size-fits-all approach. We're very limited in our ability to do so. With 7 members and with 15, I think we'll be more impactful in our support of our schools. So I ask for your support tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other questions from council? This is a public hearing. If you'd like to speak for or against, Mr. McDuffie?
But doesn't specifically say. Doesn't say anything.
I come up here too much, sorry about that. I would like to say I look forward to seeing this move forward as well. This gives opportunities to our citizens to further education and to also have a voice in their community. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Close the public hearing. Is there a motion? Is there a second?
Got it.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Yes. Councilman Maldonado. Yes. Councilman Roth. Yes. Councilman Williams. Yes. Vice Mayor Faircloth. Yes. Mayor Porter.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Tab 19.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'll read the title. This is an ordinance for first reading as well. It's an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending the city code by amending Chapter 30 zoning, Article 4 supplemental district regulations, Division 2 off-street parking to modify the regulations for disabled persons parking spaces, providing for severability, providing for inclusion in the code, providing for conflicts, and providing for an effective date.
Mr. Cordino? Mr.
Yes, sir.
White?
We are recommending the approval of the ordinance amending the city code, section 30-446, disabled persons parking. Our parking code with the city of Homestead in Chapter 30 zoning district provides that all shopping centers located with the city shall mark and designate certain spaces as handicap spaces with a minimum of 2. We realize that this differs from the Florida Building Code and the federal ADA requirements, Americans with Disabilities Act requirements. And we felt that it puts a burden on a small shopping center owner with a few amount of spaces because a higher proportion of those spaces need to be handicapped, basically saying 2. We can balance this out and go and measure it based on the state's rules and the ADA rules, which are based on proportionality per square footage. And feel that we can give those guys with smaller shopping centers a little bit of relief and still meet the federal and state requirements with that. We did a cow on this already, I think several months back, and we went to the Planning and Zoning Board who approved this in May 4-0.
Questions from council? This is a public hearing. Anyone would like to speak for or against, you're welcome to come at this time. Seeing none, close the public hearing. Is there a motion? Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Any final comments? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Maldonado. Yes. Councilman Burgess.
Yes.
Councilman Williams.
Yes.
Councilman Roth. Yes. Vice Mayor Faircloth.
Yes.
Mayor Porter.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Tab 20. Who's got that? Is this you, Kate?
Yes.
You have it.
Thank you, Mayor. On January 12, 2016, Mayor and Council approved the reallocation of Community Development Block Grant surplus funds in order to provide senior citizen activities at the FICA Williams Community Center. The notice of funding availability was published on January 29th with an application due date of February 19th, but there were no responses. On February 26th, a second NOFA was published with an application due on March 25th. There was only one response. At this time, staff recommends that the CDBG surplus funds, which were previously earmarked for senior citizen activities at FICA Williams Community Center, be reprogrammed for public facility improvements at the FICA Williams Community Center.
Questions from council on tab 20? Mr. Williams?
I know this is, especially I know it was, we really wanted to have some adult services monies to be done as it relates to adult daycare services or higher for our seniors, but did not have the capable applicants that applied to have such funding. So I'm in support of it, but I'm always looking that our eyes should still be on target to continue to find some service or company that can come in and provide such services for this needed segment of our population here in Homestead. So, with that kind of regret, I don't have a problem with these the funding being reallocated to do something with the facility at Franco Williams. But hopefully, next year somehow we can still give it another shot. Vice Mayor, find somebody out there that can come with some program or service. Hopefully that will be on the radar for our Parks and Recs Department to really find a good applicant to come in and provide such services that's very much needed in this area. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Vice Mayor?
Thank you. Any funding, am I on?
Yeah.
Thank you. Any funding that we can use to be expended into the FICA Williams, I am going to definitely support because that is a high-need area. As it relates to the senior citizen programming out of the FICA Williams, I knew it would be a far stretch because of the amount of the award, and there are some very capable operators, but with the $48,000 that we had to work with, it would be a bit much for them to pull it off for that amount. So I've already approached members from our delegation, Miami-Dade delegation, Jose Fuentes, Bob Levy and Associates, and Senator Ana Terry Flores to add it to our legislative agenda requests so that we can receive a respectable amount from the state to be able to pull this off in the city. So with their support and endorsement, I'm sure they'll be able to bring some dollars back to the city of Homestead for us to implement this program at the FICA Williams Community Center. But I thank you for your creativity and coming up with another avenue for us to support the FICA Williams Community Center. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. This afternoon, I was at a meeting with Commissioner Cava and some of the other mayors of local cities, and this is a priority, for the commissioner, and it's a priority for other cities as well. So I think that in the future, Dennis, you or your group, someone should reach out to the commissioner and see if there's a way that we could leverage what we have with with some of the initiatives that the county may have, so that we can provide some services to the seniors. I mean, I know we have the community center with some activity, but it's really not enough. So I would encourage you to reach out to, to Commissioner Cava's office and see, what direction they're going, and so that we can do something in the very near future. So, hold on.
Mayor and Vice Mayor and Council, just to give you some scenarios of other parks in the county, is that a lot of them use their own staff, so they hire. So the thing is with us, we don't have that avenue to go, and that's why we put it out for bid to see what we could find out there. But what I will do is reach to other parks in the county and Dade County itself and find out what kind of avenues I can come up with, and we'll try to make it happen for the Vice Mayor and Councilman Williams and the council.
Sir, this is a public hearing. You're welcome to come forward and speak at this time. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Any final comments? Is there a motion to move these funds? Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Williams?
Yes.
Councilman Roth?
Yes.
Councilman Burgess? Councilman Maldonado?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Faircloth?
Yes.
Mayor Porter?
Yes.
The motion carries.
tab 22. Is this you, Kate?
Yes, this is a resolution of the City Council of the City Homestead.
Hold on.
Oh, sorry. Am I not on?
Now I see it, try it again.
This is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, approving an interlocal agreement with Miami-Dade County, providing for an allocation of Miami-Dade County general obligation bond funds for the completion of a multimodal transportation development in the city's historic downtown district, providing for implementation, providing for an effective date.
Anything from staff? Kate?
Yes, Mayor. On March 8th, 2016, the Miami-Dade County Board of County Commissioners approved resolution number R-225-16 allocating $1.5 million to the city from Project 320 for a multimodal transportation development. Staff recommends that Mayor and Council approve the attached resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an interlocal agreement with Miami-Dade to receive $1.5 million Economic Development Fund grant for the design and construction of a multimodal transportation project in the Homestead Historic Downtown.
Questions from council? Mr. Burgess?
I just wanted to make a comment, Mayor, and say thank you to everybody. I know I went down there one time and there was a second meeting, but the day that we went down there for the initial meeting, we weren't going to get a penny. That $3 million was going to another district and another commissioner. And through our efforts down there and through staff's effort, Mr. Gretzis and all of his staff, we were able to take $1.5 million for the city of Homestead just by going down to County Hall that day. So I want to say thank you to everybody that was down there and to the management team and all of staff that were in on this, because when we went there, like I said, Commissioner Suarez thought he was taking $3 million home that day. And he wasn't very happy when we took half the pot and left. So it's worth going down there, just to reiterate the facts like we spoke earlier, going up to the state capitol and doing the work up there. It's the same thing at the county, so I just wanted to put that out there. Thank you.
I want to, on the heels of that, I would like to say, again, Richard Weiss and Mitch and the team that was up there with us really made the difference, because we were going to get hammered, as Mr. Burgess said. So, but this is $1.5 million worth of money that is really ours anyway. We just never get it back. This is one of the few times that we get some of our own money back to reinvest in our community. So kudos to everyone that was able to go. Kudos to staff and kudos to Richard and his team. So now this is a public hearing. We're getting $1.5 million. Anybody want to say anything negative about it? Mr. McDuffie.
And ask for a comment on that. You said that we send this money up, but we rarely get it back. Is there any kind of process that you guys can lead an effort on to just not have to send that money up at some point?
No. But the thing is, the activity that you've seen the council has been able to do in the past, I mean, and with our representatives in Tallahassee, we're not, we're a donor community in most respects.
Yes.
So this is one of the few times when we've been able to actually get some of our own money back to reinvest in some of our own projects. We can track those dollars through ad valorem taxes, through sales tax, through a lot of things. And this is, again, it's one of the few times in Tallahassee we've gotten some money back, and one of the few times. And I gotta commend Commissioner Cava and her team, because she saw this and basically applied for us. We didn't see it, but her team saw it, put an application in for us, got us in line, and then we were able to follow up again with some lobbying efforts, and that brought that money here. So.
And just a quick question to Councilman Burgess. Councilman Burgess, correct me if I'm wrong, you helped lead one of these efforts while you were with the Dade League of Cities, correct?
This was more through the city itself than the League of Cities, but this was, like the mayor stated, our attorneys were probably our biggest lobbyists and helpers down there at that time, and helped us to secure these funds as they know the intertwinings and the inner workings of the county. So I was just somebody that was sitting in the audience hoping that a face would scare them into giving us the money, and it did.
All right, then, thanks so much.
Mr. Burgess has been a huge impact as the president of Miami-Dade League of Counties. When he walks in the room, he's not only a council member, but he's also the president of the league, and that's.
Past president, you're going to get me in trouble now.
No, well, you were at the time, sir, but you are now past. But it's one of those things that was very, very influential for you to be that president at the time, so. No more public comments, I'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion? Move it. Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Roth? Yes. Councilman Williams? Yes. Councilman Maldonado? Yes. Councilman Burgess? Yes. Vice Mayor Fairclough?
Yes.
Mayor Porter?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, tab
So-
22 is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, adopting and authorizing the submission of the fiscal year 2016-17 Community Development Block Grant Action Plan to the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development for approval, establishing a budget for community development block grant funds, providing for implementation, and providing for an effective date.
Anything from staff? Okay,
Staff recommends that mayor and council approve the attached resolution adopting and authorizing the submission of the fiscal year 2016-17 CDBG action plan to the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development for approval.
questions from council? Vice Mayor?
Just a comment. Thank you, Mayor. I was not here when this was heard on the first reading, but I just have a couple comments, maybe a question. I stare at things too long, and then I have questions, so forgive me, Carlos. But I'm sure you can answer them. Councilman Burgess had asked a question about accountability and whether or not we had mechanisms in place to ensure that the money that was awarded was expended properly. We've been asking that since I've been up here. So we really need to get that together. We need to go beyond this lip service. Calvin, you're a smart guy. Make it happen. Because we don't have anything in place as of yet, to my knowledge. If that is differently, please enlighten me.
Is that on? Yes. We are continuing to try to do additional monitoring. Before we give out any reimbursements, our goal is to try to visit the location where they're doing public services and see what they are that they're doing. I know that Ms. Simpson with the finance department, she has gone to some of these organizations and attended some of the functions to see firsthand how the money is being spent on those services. As for the public facilities, in most cases, you actually see the bricks and mortars, you see the permits being passed, so that one's a little bit more, hard sense.
Thank you. And speaking about public facilities and looking at the listing of awarded MPOs by program year, I see that we have funded Miami Bridge for facility upgrades since fiscal year 2012-2013. We've given them a new roof, plumbing, fire alarm system, laundry room. Do we know how much they are investing in their own building?
No, ma'am. I don't. I don't know how much they're investing, but the building is, it's approaching an age where everything is just falling apart. And there's actually 3 buildings out there. There's 2 in the original Girl Scout Park facility that I think those buildings were built in the 50s. And then there's the newer building, which is a little over 20 years old. And so these funds are going to all 3 buildings and also to the grounds that connect the buildings as well. So I don't know what their capital budget is. I know that is county property that the facilities are located on top of, and they're responsible for running the facilities. I can certainly find out. I do believe, in my opinion, I've spent a lot of time out there. I think after this, they're going to be in pretty good shape. Okay. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, they're going to be in good shape because they're getting a new roof right now. They have new windows, new doors, and we're doing some realignment of the sidewalks that connect the buildings because they're a little hazardous right now, and some basic landscaping. Some very large trees are threatening the buildings. So I think after this bite at the apple, I believe they'll be in good shape.
Okay. And they service a very fragile population. And in fact, they do noble work in the community with the children. I just want to make sure that we spread the wealth a bit and then get an understanding of how much they are investing because they're in a position to receive a lot of funding. So I just want to make sure that we are providing those other MPOs the opportunity to upgrade their facilities and not just focusing on one.
Yes, ma'am.
And what I would like to see, I was speaking to Rick Beasley from Career Source South Florida on yesterday, because they're having a hard time placing students at locations to work for the summer. But what was very startling and disheartening to me was the fact that out of 90 applicants, 14 to 17-year-olds, half of them couldn't pass a drug test or a background check. 14 to 17-year-old children can't pass a drug test or a background check. So there's a lot of work that we need to do in the community. So if there are any MPOs that would like to focus on employability skills, mentoring programs for these kids to better position them to get a job, because that's sad that a 14-year-old can't pass a drug test. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. So if you come across any nonprofits that are willing to work in that area, I'd be very, very interested in that moving forward. I have nothing further, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Williams?
Yes. Thank you, Mayor. I stay right down the street, exactly down the street from the building. And a couple years ago, I think maybe about 3 years ago, I had the same questions, and I talked with the CFO of the location of Minebridge, and I had the same question about the funding that they were getting. And a lot of their funding goes to their other location in Miami. You know, and so I think we need to see what they have invested in over the years versus what we have invested in their own building. And I'm all about being a good community partner. I think they do excellent. We're not targeting a program of service, but we want to make sure that they're invested into their building just like we are. And we're programming these dollars, and we have been doing it for quite some time. Probably we could have built 3 new buildings out there by now. But I need to see what their commitment is, and this is 2016. I'm going to extract, I'd like to take that out until I see what their commitment is going to be or have been to their own facility. So that means that I'm not going to be supportive of this item to extract out until I get to the next council meeting. How can we do that?
This is a single reading.
This has to be in HUD by sometime in August. So the only thing is we have one other meeting in July.
What I'm saying is, how can, without disturbing it, I guess it has to have the line item.
It's full, yeah, it's the entire action plan.
If I could add something, though, I mean, it is just an action plan. It isn't actually a contract at this point. So, you know, we have plenty of opportunity between now and when this would actually get funded to explore how they're funding their capital cost. And if there's any cause for concern at any time, this project can be amended out or reprogrammed or changed or whatever you want to do. You really have, the city will not see a contract from HUD until December at the earliest.
So, like I have done with other items, what is my other thing is, are these, I see persons here from some organization, but what about the rest of the organization? Are they here tonight?
Who?
The other organizations that we're programming money for. I know the Soup Kitchen is here.
Not sure. Yeah, Soup Kitchen is here.
Yeah.
They, Councilman, if I may, the only reason that they weren't invited to this one is because we took a 2-step approach. So they attended the prior meeting where all the grants to the non-for-profits had been previously awarded, and they were all present at that one.
And talk to me about this Imaginarium Library, this $260,000.
That is basically, I believe, back in February, the council gave sort of direction to the city manager to pursue this project. So we've moved forward with an application for a loan through CDBG. It's still in a process. We haven't received anything back from HUD, but we're carving out the amount of money that would have to be used to repay that loan. And this is making certain assumptions that it's over 20 years. We don't know if when they come back, if it'll be 20 or 15, but it's based on 20 years and based on a certain percentage. This would be basically the equivalent of the debt service that would have to be repaid back on that loan.
Okay, because I seen the ticket, the item ticket on that Imaginarium today is at 13 million. So,
This is only partial funding for that project, and I think that was known even back in February.
okay, and the administrative piece of 154,000?
Yes, we always program the maximum allowable, which is 20%. We don't always spend that.
What do you spend?
We've got basically for the project delivery, we've got for the possible for the loan administration, we have in there for legal fees, we had for advertising, and for subscriptions.
So how much came back to us to be reprogrammed for other programs that, since you don't use all of it from last year?
I'm sorry,
How much from last year, since you don't use it all, you just used the maximum amount, the 20%? How much came back from last year for reprogramming for other things?
I
that you
believe,
did
I
not
believe
use?
maybe, I don't know if most of were part of the $46,000 in surplus fees. Some of it came from the administrative fees that weren't expended.
All right, so you're telling me that we're going to come back after we get the information from Miami Bridge about how they program, and you want us to support that tonight, right? Because this has to be due in August. Am I right? Am I
That's
hearing this right?
correct. As our consultant stated, Calvin, that if we find something that is unusual or something that we don't like, we can bring it back to this council, and those funds can be reprogrammed elsewhere.
As I have stated every year, and I'm going to continue to state it, that I think somehow we've got to do a better job at getting this to us prior to it being due in August, so that when we have these questions and we have time to delay, because every year it seems like I'm always rushed with this with CDBG dollars, because they got to get it in by August, and it comes back all at the same time. And then those items I'd like to extrapolate out of the program, I can't do it because it'll hold up the whole process. So how can we be better at this? What is your timeline with different things?
That was actually our attempt this year. That's why we did it in a two-part process. We brought the non-for-profits at an earlier meeting to do this way ahead of time.
Right, but this is where we are now actually giving them the dollars. The first time was when? The first time you said in February. What did we do in February?
No, not in February. I'm saying at the last meeting in last month,
Right.
we brought the non-for-profits, the awards, the recommendation for the awards for the non-for-profits as a separate item to this body to have those approved so that we can incorporate it into the action plan, because we know that those are where most of the issues would be addressed, and all the applicants had been asked to attend that meeting.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Any other questions from council? This is a public hearing. I'll open up the public hearing at this time. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion? Moved and seconded. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Burgess? Councilman Roth? Councilman Williams? Councilman Maldonado? Vice Mayor Fairclough? Mayor Porter?
Yes.
The motion carries.
We've done tab 3. Business from the city manager. I'm sorry? We did 20. 24 is going to come under your business.
Oh, okay.
It's going to go now.
No, Mayor.
Anything from the city attorney?
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to request executive sessions on 3 separate cases, all in Miami-Dade County. It's one is Homestead Miami Speedway LLC versus the City of Homestead, case number 2016-00231. Then, in addition to that, Case Cruz versus the City of Homestead, case number 2015-005709, as well as Williams v. Homestead, case number 13-30134.
All right, sir. Thank you. Mr. Shelley's not here. Mr. Burgess, business from City Council?
Yes, sir.
Hold on, sorry. Okay,
I'll
sir.
be very brief. I just wanted to thank Dennis and his staff, manager, and everybody else who supported the Dog Days of Summer event that myself and Commissioner Cava put on. Estimates were between 800 and 1,000 people showed up that day. They did all kinds of activity over at the spay and neuter clinic with free microchipping, and since then, we've had 3 other communities in South Dade that are looking to copy it, and we're kind of mad at Commissioner Cava that she chose us first. But she didn't choose us, we chose her. So, because we needed that county help that day, but there were many adoptions and a great day, and I just wanted to thank you guys and thank the staff because you guys waived the fees for us. It allowed things to happen there, so thank you.
Thank
And
you,
with
sir.
that, I'll call it the end of my business.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Roth?
Not quite sure, so I got a couple of things I want to cover, but is it tab 24, I wanted to bring up for discussion in reference to the Art and Public Places Committee. They haven't been able to put together a quorum 4 of the 5 months this year, and my feeling is we need to remove this board and create a new one so that we can get some productivity out of that board itself and that committee. This is a part of the Development Services Board. This board is responsible, or committee is responsible for, at this point, about $500,000 worth of revenue that they are to allocate out for public art projects in the community, and nothing's happened. Nothing's happened with this board since the beginning of this year. So I've put in, I guess, what would be procedurally what should happen to remove this board, and then we have responsibilities individually as council members to appoint members to this board so that we can begin to move this committee forward and get some projects started in the city of Homestead.
So you want to retire the members that are on the board now and go through the reappointment process?
Correct.
Okay. Mr. Burgess?
Thank you. I just wanted to reiterate that they had many times in the past where they had trouble getting a quorum also. So, and I'm not sure, James, maybe you can, James worked on this forever back in the day when we were writing it. I think it's the restrictions that were put on the board that some of the spots we had trouble filling in the past was because of the titles that they had to have professionally to do it. Is that something that can be stricken, James, and we're allowed to choose people that we see relevant to the board, or would that be something that, if that's what the chairman would want to do, or is it something that we have to continue with the titles and quote-unquote expertise that they're supposed to bring to the panel?
Well, with a few of your boards, you set out what you would like the makeup or the composition of the board to members, varied backgrounds or education to have. In this particular instance, it's mandatory, it shall consist of 7 members and may include, so it's permissive. The goal is to try to get members who, individuals who have the background or disciplines in certain areas. But of course, if you can't make it or you can't get it, which you all have had problems in the past with not just this board but other boards, then certainly you want to fill the board and you want the duties and responsibilities of that board to be carried out. So I would say in this particular case, looking at the language, it's may, which is an indicator that it's permissive. I mean, strive to fill those positions, but if you can't, then with those folks or people that you all deem qualified to serve in that role.
Well, if you've made a motion, Mr. Roth, to vacate and I will second that motion. If you're looking for a motion, or if what you stated is one, then I will second that.
Is that your motion?
Yeah, we'll make that the motion.
Motion is made and seconded by Mr. Burgess, and let me get the rest of the comments from council. Mr. Williams?
The problem I see is that, of course, my colleague raised it, John, is that the restriction of criteria, because if we are to have if we are to have an appointment by each of us, how do we know if your appointee
Right. I agree.
is not the professional artist, or, so I think it's a lot restrictive in nature. And because of the quorum, does it need to be contained to 7? Or you just want to reset?
Well, I think at this point, we should just reset and see if we can get a functioning committee that will commit to being a part of this and create a quorum so that business can get done through that committee.
So, Mayor, procedurally, if the motion is to get rid of the title, this is an ordinance, so it had to go through 2 readings, right? If we had deleted the titles, how would that work?
No, as James described, the titles themselves, or the qualifications for the members, it's suggestive. So if you cannot find members who meet that, because it's may and not shall, you can appoint a member who doesn't meet the eligibility qualifications. The number of members, the 7 members, it shall consist of 7 members. If you're interested in changing the number of members in order to shrink it, maybe to better be able to constitute a quorum, then that would be an ordinance that would require code amendment and 2 readings.
Okay. All right. So we don't necessarily have to have 1 professional, 2 individuals from the following discipline: landscape, architect, urban planning, engineering. So we don't have to have that because it says 7 members and may include. Okay. All right.
And that's similar to the Planning and Zoning Board as well. It doesn't require that, but it suggests that in the best effort to get a diverse group of eyes on that, it suggests that you try to get an attorney or try to get a contractor or but you can't necessarily always do that. That's the same sort of application we're talking about here, correct?
Correct, Mayor.
Okay.
Yes.
So, yeah, that was my only concern, is that if we get 1 person to suggest to be put on the board, we wouldn't know if your person is a landscaper or architect or urban planner or whatever. So we will just kind of eliminate that and appoint persons who we believe, or suggest persons who we believe that will fit your criteria, Mr. Roth. Right?
It's not my criteria. It's the
Well,
committee's criteria. It's what we want for this committee and what direction we want to take this committee in.
But it comes your criteria because you're having problems with quorum.
Because we're having problems with quorum.
So
yes.
it's yours now.
So it is mine.
Yeah,
I will
okay.
take ownership now.
All right, thank you, Mayor.
Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. I don't know, I have a different take on this. I'm not convinced that we aren't establishing quorum because of the skill sets. So we need to really look at what our code says as it relates to attendance. Because if they miss 3 meetings, then they're automatically out. So your board might be eliminated just based on that. And 2, I kind of like the fact that this committee should be comprised of individuals that have certain talents or skill sets. So although we're not bound to having these particular individuals, I think we should try. We have Valley Crest, Brightview here. I'm sure we can have someone from there on the board. We can have an art teacher on the board. So I think we should really work towards that, to have a very focused group who have skill sets that can definitely benefit this group. So I like the composition of this, and I will work on my appointee to make sure that they fall in one of these categories.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Mr. Maldonado?
Thank you, Mayor. So I think the last person we were trying to find was a professional artist, and there was no one I could find. I was the last person to find an appointee, and my assistant Jeremy and myself sent out some information, some emails, made some phone calls of folks that we thought would fit that, and it was very difficult to pinpoint that one person. But now, I think that if we get to that point again, that we could say, okay, I have someone else that I think will still fit the bill. So I'll work with that. My goal will be to fit the criteria as you guys it's mentioned here, because I agree that this makes sense for what they're going to be working on. But in light of we can't not find that one person, I think that we need to at least make mention of it and then put someone in place, because I never was able to submit anyone because I couldn't find anyone to fit that criteria. It was very, very difficult. And I spent a good amount of time trying to find someone. And so just wanted to put that on the record, because I know I was the last person supposed to submit someone and don't have anyone. So today, still. So I will support you in what you need in order to get this board moving forward. I know the importance of it, and so I'll work with you and with this council to make sure that we find someone as soon as possible.
Thank you, sir. Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. To be sure that we don't have 7 art teachers up here, I would commit to bringing in someone knowledgeable in the field of public art education, category 3. So don't look for any art teachers, because I'm going to bring an art teacher.
Mr. Burgess?
I've got a professional artist in mind that works heavily here in the community. In fact, they do things at the Seminole Theater on a regular basis, art and stuff. So I will reach out to those folks tomorrow and see what I can get some sort of commitment from them on that.
And everybody's saying, the issue is to get people that will attend the meeting and bring forward information to us as the policymakers, so we can move forward, as opposed to where we've been in the past. So, Councilman Roth, it's your show.
Yeah, that's fine. If we want to commit to individuals of certain disciplines, that's fine. I've got a couple in mind as well. I think we can leave your appointment on or reappoint him again, Mr. Deal, because he was new to this process. He hadn't had a chance to even be at a meeting, so it's no reason to do away with that. You stole him anyways. He was mine originally, but you can have him again. I'll get somebody else. So that's fine. We just want to move this thing forward and put together a productive committee.
Okay,
so we have the motion, right?
There's a motion to basically just take all the players off the committee and all of us reappoint through the process that's set up in the charter.
Right.
Mr. Williams?
Yes, Mayor, my appointment is the same. Thank you, Mayor. I move it.
Vice Mayor?
Yes, I just want to make sure that we notify these individuals as opposed to just sunsetting everyone and starting over. I think the respectful thing to do is to notify them of this, of our intentions.
And Mr. Roth, it's your committee.
Yep.
So obviously as tactfully and tastefully as you can.
Yeah.
But it's your request. So there was a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Anything else, Mr. Roth?
Yeah, I do have some other stuff. I'll try to be very brief, but I do want to mention that we had a very successful gun buyback program June 11th. June 11th was kind of a stellar day for the city of Homestead, our first attempt at this program, spearheaded by Jeremy Upton of City of Refuge Church, who actually put up the bounty of $10,000 for us to purchase these guns off the street. We netted about, I think it was 53 guns in total of all sorts of ranges. There was shotguns, handguns. I think there's one assault rifle that was a part of that. And I do want to thank the officers that were involved, the planning that took place. I think we met about 6 or 8 times at the City of Refuge Church. I want to thank the State Attorney's Office and Janine Jones. She was a big part of that planning. The Miami-Dade Police Department, who also has a bounty program that goes on continuously. It's not just the gun buyback program, but they have a program, it's basically called the bounty program, where any information that is given to this program, an arrest is made with a weapon, those people will receive $1,000. So there's incentive for them to turn people with weapons in. The chief, I want to thank you, Chief Roll. You were a big part of this. You spent a big part of that day with us out there. But really it was the officers who planned this, set it all up, made it work. I'd been to a couple other gun buyback programs where it wasn't as organized and it wasn't as well put together as what our city employees were able to do, our police officers were able to do. Aside from the pizza, I think the day was pretty good. But I do want to thank the chief. I want to thank Captain Edie Sermon. I want to thank Sergeant Charles Becker, Manny Ferreira, Roberto Salinas, Jesus Vasquez. These are all detectives. Fernando Morales, we know him as Mo. Ricky Rivera, Officer Chanel Worley, Reserve Officer Nevia Garcia, Reserve Officer Pete Sosa, Reserve Officer Chris Wilson, Reserve Officer John DeMarcy, sorry if I mess up your names, and our CPU unit who went out there and actually beat the streets, knocked on doors, brought brochures out, encouraged people to come out and bring the weapons. They did an outstanding job in promoting this event. And that's Officer Alyssa Barker, Mario Arzuega, Bert McCumbee, and Robbie Tate. And we also had Ashley Simmons, who worked the property. So it was the first, and I don't think ever, Chief, is that right? We have never done a gun buyback program in the city of Homestead. And we probably couldn't have done it without the partners from the County Commission, Dennis Moss's office, Cava's office, Homestead Hospital was a part of it, the South Day News Leader, and our sister city, Florida City, also participated in the event. It was pretty exciting. You know, we didn't know what to expect that day. We actually got our first gun before the hour of operation, and within about 15 minutes after that, one person brought us 11 weapons. So at that point, our hearts started pumping, like, are we gonna have enough money to cover this event? But we made arrangements in the City of Refuge Church. Jeremy Upton did a fantastic job with that. So I just want to give shout outs to all those people. Chief, I think we're going to do another one here in the future. We're looking for other sources of revenue because no tax dollars were used in this. Nothing came from the city as far as tax dollars. This was all donated monies from the church, Homestead Hospital, and other support that we got for this event. So just hats off to your guys, your team, those guys that did all that work. And it was a pretty exciting day for all of us, I think, in Homestead. And I think, you know, we've set an example for the future. Whether we can get 53 next time, I don't know. But we're going to work hard to try to do that. So thank you, Chief, and thank you, Mayor, for my time.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Williams.
Yes, thank you, Mayor.
Oops, let me turn you on.
Yeah, Mayor, thank you. And I have several items here. First, I want to see where we are with the progression of the towing. Brought up last month that we need to look at our ordinance. And I had some questions in going through our ordinance about towing companies here in the city of Homestead, and how are they regulated? Do we have any regulation for tow companies that come into our city limits, who work out deals with business owners to have their towing company to, tow cars away without going through our process? So, Mayor, if you don't mind, I'd like to hear if there is a report. I will hope there is a report from Development Services.
Mr. Cordino? Oh, hold on, I got the wrong switch.
Currently, we do not regulate towing within the city of Homestead. So we only believe regulate them if they are geographically located in the city. I believe that we can regulate other businesses that work in the city but aren't located within the city. So that's a possibility.
Okay. Mayor, my colleagues, the problem is that, and I've done some extensive research on towings here lately, and problem is that the state statute says that really tow companies who are less than 10 miles or so within the city limits have really no business towing in our community. Although our ordinance says that it should be 5 miles. We have tow companies like Alpine, that their closest office is in South Miami or Perrine area, which is like 16 miles from here. And what they do, they come into our community, they work out special deals with certain businesses, and then they get kickbacks, and I was put on the record, they get kickbacks for every vehicle that they tow out. And I think at some point in time, with the state statute and the county has regulated that they have, and what we mandate here is that, they have to have a tow yard within the 10 miles within the city limits. If not, then I think there ought to be some kind of damages or punitive damages or something that we can do to regulate this. So that means updating our ordinance. I've got a ton of suggestions from Lee County, from Miami-Dade County, and some other cities that regulate towing companies within their municipalities, because it is definitely a major issue that we have here in Homestead, and I think we need to do something about that. So, Mayor, I don't know what is the next procedural piece to bring this back and to really look at it in a comprehensive way so that we can start to regulate some of these companies. Because personally, I believe that you ought to have a business, some kind of business license if you're going to operate in our city and tow up out of our city to other places, and our residents got to hike up 10 to 12 miles just to get their car out. And it is about time that we do something about this undercover towing companies. And so, Mayor, what is the next?
Mr. Attorney?
Councilman Williams, the city does have some ability to regulate towing. It's within the framework that's defined by the county. The county preempts municipalities in some areas and not others. What I think the best course would be is if you could provide me with your suggestions and the particular issues that you would like to address. I can evaluate everything that you would like to do and make sure that we can craft something that would fit within the framework of the authority that the city does have to regulate the towing companies.
Well, the city has quite a bit of authority.
No, we are preempted from certain areas by the county's regulations.
Okay, I'm not going to get into discussion legally. But from what I read in the county, it doesn't say that in the first sentence. It says something totally different, but okay.
If you have your suggestions, I'd be happy to take them.
So, Mayor, when can what is the next procedural way to do this? Do I submit it? How do we need to do this? Because I really want to get this taken care of.
I think if you give it to the attorney, put it on the next council
we
agenda.
can have something for you
Put it
on
in
the
a
next.
committee of the whole, and that way we can go through it, in depth and detail.
I think that would be the best course of action.
All
We'll
right.
get it on the
So,
calendar and
do
have
I
the
need
conversation.
to schedule what with your office? City attorney just submitted?
Yeah, if you have your suggestions, I'm happy to take them this evening. If not, I will take them in any way that is convenient for you.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you, Mayor. On that, unless there's any other comments from my colleagues.
Mr. Roth has, I think, a question.
Yeah, I was just going to add to that if they put up a sign in a community, are they doing business in the city of Homestead, and should they have a business license for doing the same? That's a weird question. Now, I've heard of, as Councilman Williams said, they would go into some of those communities on the east side. They would pull 15 and 20 vehicles out, park them across the street at Publix, and then transport those vehicles up the road. So that, to me, that's a problem when they're doing that. And then the vehicle owners have to travel 10, 15 miles up the road and then pay these exorbitant fees to get their cars back, which we can't control the fees, but we can control who does business in the city of Homestead. So I look forward to seeing what comes forward in the CAL so that we can better protect our citizens in the city and not have their vehicles towed out en masse like some of them have had that happen in the past. Thank you, Mayor.
And some of these tow companies get $10 a car, $20 a car, it depends on what they work out with and what I'm looking for, Mr., is it Matthew, Mr. Pearl?
Yes, sir.
What I'm looking for is that these businesses, local businesses that are giving them authorization to do this, needs to have some kind of effect on it, because I'll give you the key example as much as I love Popeyes, that plaza there, Alpine, they have no business license here in Homestead. The nearest location is in South Miami, Perrine. And so it bothers me that they give outside towing companies, opportunities to tow these cars, and it's not like our residents can go to around the block to get their cars, but they've got to hike way up to out of our jurisdiction or municipality area and get their cars back. And they will call 10 minutes after you're gone so that they can lift your car and be done with it. It's ridiculous. So hopefully we can regulate this, and I hope we will, to bring some kind of resolution to this.
Mr. Maldonado, did you have a question in regards to that?
Yes. Not a question, just, and I think Councilman Roth just mentioned it. I know in my community, Malibu Bay, they were looking, just recently, they were asking me about any company that I know of that would be able to help them towing out cars, because they're kind of fed up with the ones that they're working with. So, I guess the question is how we're going to regulate the communities, or what do we do to inform them that they're going to have a list of towing companies that they're going to be able to pick from, and how do we hold those businesses that are going to be at an advantage because they're in this radius that they qualify, that we hold them accountable to doing good business. So on top of whatever whatever regulation we start bringing up for them, I'd want to figure out how we, because the candidates are going to be a lot fewer, how do we hold those fewer candidates accountable to being good business operators that are dealing with our constituents? Because we could have one here that's down the street, and I'm not saying that any of them here are bad, but that's my concern is just how do we keep them in line? And so I just want to put that on the record.
All right, sir. Mr. Williams.
Yeah, thank you. The other issue that we're working on through the Southwest Advisory Board is a community forum that is tentatively scheduled in July 27th, which is a Wednesday, which can't be because we have a council meeting on July 27th, right? Yeah. I'm sorry.
22nd.
27. No, I think 7. Yeah. So we have to kind of defer that maybe probably to August. But in essence, the community forum is about different things that we have going on in our community as it relates to the Southwest area. And I think hopefully once we get a target date, I'll come back to you all for some other input. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Mr. Maldonado?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. A few concerns. I've driving around the community, I tend to realize that some of the areas that are fenced off that are not being property owners that are not using their property or building on their property right now, I see that there's a lot of growth within their property lines. And so I know that if they have the area fenced off, they're supposed to have it covered with like a green kind of protection that they always have there. For example, at Everglades Preparatory School, there's that large piece of property that's right in front. It has a fence around it, and that fence does have some green, I guess, covering. But I would say within 6 months to a year, that covering starts to tear off, and so you're now exposed to see what's behind there. But on top of that, my main concern is that when I drive through there, I mean, whatever foliage that's in there, it's going way above that already 6-foot fence. And so, and this happens at numerous locations. I know that I've brought this to Dennis's attention, and he's taking care of it right away. But, you know, I don't want it to where it's always, I'm mentioning it to Dennis, and then Dennis is somehow taking care of it. I want to make sure that those owners are following a schedule, that they're maintaining that property, because that leaves, you know, for areas that bad things could happen. And, you know, the one right next to the school, we don't know if we're having rodents, snakes, or anything illegally happening in there. I remember when I was growing up, back behind Camel Drive Elementary, you remember the canal that was back there, Chief Roll? You know, I would remember the kids that would, you know, cut through the fence and skip through there, and it was that foliage, but they were able to hide back there. So I thought about that, and so that was one kind of a concern. What was happening back there was scary, so I don't want that to happen today. And so we could giggle about it because we're fully aware of that. And so how do we do that? My question to staff, or how do we work on that so that we have a schedule where they are maintaining it? We have the property right across or behind the gas station off of 312 and 137. Behind there, there's a property that's been vacant for some time. And that, again, it's starting to overgrow. I think there's even trees in there now, and they're getting of significant size. And so, you know, how they're going to manage that. You got the one at Everglades Preparatory. You have the one right behind the Dairy Queen Grill and Chill. There's a fence there that's, again, the foliage in there is starting to grow. And I could kind of go on and on and on about some of those properties. And so what do we have to do to curb that problem? Because I don't want to continue to call up Dennis or staff and have them to get on it. I'd rather the owners be responsible for that property. So someone.
Councilman, everything that you mentioned on the properties are all private. So the thing is, code enforcement would have to go out there, get with the owner, let them know they need to cut it. If not, then they will be fined. So what we could do is probably the chief and myself can write down these addresses and get with Crystal, and then we can probably keep a closer eye on them, those situations where you're at, on them
And maybe get with,
pieces.
maybe development services, can they help out in determining those areas, those properties? Because I'm sure, do you guys have it on record, or those areas that are empty, that's always kind of growing out of control? We have a lot of property that's being purchased, and eventually they will build on it, but no one's building on it right now, so we're having a lot of overgrowth. So if you could help out in that process, I would really appreciate it, Mr. Cordino. And Chief Rowe, just, you know, we need to get it to where they understand that they need to be responsible. We don't need to chase them anymore on this, because we already have a ton of other items that we got to work on, and on top of this. And so they're always waiting for us to come and find them. And with all the work that we have, it makes it, you know, they get a pretty good leeway until they get to, they get fined and have to do something. So if we could work on something that's on a consistent basis with them. Is there something that we could do legally through?
And code enforcement is
That's the
likely
arm.
your best
James?
option.
I think your code already has property maintenance standards, which is what code enforcement utilizes when they go to cite a particular property, along with nuisance abatements, those types of things. So you could further enhance those, but you're not in any better position than you are now, because it's still going to require notification of the city that you're out of compliance, and fix it. If not, then it starts the code enforcement process. You get fined, and still not in compliance, eventually taken to.
So we would have to basically create like a schedule then for ourselves to go out and say every 3 months we need to go out and inspect those places and get that process going. If that's the case, and you know, either I understand, but we don't want to go. You know, it's tough when you're going against the developers and But they're the ones who are causing the problem, so. Let's try to work on something. I just want to put it out there. So for right now, I'd like to get that ball rolling. And especially, that we're, in the summertime is that the growth kicks off. It's summer, a lot of rain, a lot of sun. So we get a kind of a quicker effect of how quickly that is all, being overgrown. And so maybe we could take that into account. Something similar, but also an issue, and I spoke to Dennis about this earlier this week. Mr. Brea, maybe we could help identify. One of the problems that I'm seeing is that there's certain areas where on the mediums, and we spoke about it today.
Hold on a second. Somebody got cut off. You back on there, sir.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
On some of these mediums, there's bush that's growing, and it grows taller than the eye line of the cars, and so we cannot see the cars. And if they're going to be turning in or making a left or right, it's very difficult to see. We've had accidents in the past across the Dairy Queen. Dennis and Mr. Brea both dealt with that in the past, but again, it's kind of a growth that's happening again, and it's covering. Can we identify those areas where there's a turn, and put some type of, something that we're going to be able to bring those medium hedges way down so that we could see it, as opposed to all of them? I mean, they're beautiful for the most part of the city, but in those areas where there's turning lanes, it makes it very difficult for folks to see oncoming cars.
Councilman, the police traffic control got with us on those same concerns. So what we did, we notified Brightview, which is also Valley Quest, and the standards were 27 to 30 inches high. So I asked Valley Quest, Brightview, to hit all the turned streets to help us do that. Like 162 has it between by Lowe's and by the Lucy Street. So we're looking at all them to get them done, even on US 1. So we're already starting that process. Okay. And I'll take care of the Dairy Queen. I know we took care of it once, but like you said, it grew over.
Yep.
So it's just time to maybe now, since the police traffic control got with us, we already started that process. So I'll make sure that we keep it online for you.
I'm sure that they're probably getting with you because of the accidents that are happening.
Yeah, yes, sir.
And so, again, and I know because we've seen it happen over there at the Dairy Queen. Other than that, I'll be flying out to Washington tomorrow for an Aleo for our annual conference, and we'll be working on some policy in different areas and different aspects that when I get back, I hope to bring some good policy back to Homestead, and so that we can continue to make an impact here. So I'll be up in DC in the summertime, first time in the summer. Normally I'm up there when it's nice and cold, and so we'll see how it works out. So that's it for me. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Maldonado. On the heels of the comment about the overgrown shrubbery, let's also have a discussion about liability. With those overgrown, who's going to be liable for lack of vision, because we could be liable. So that's a future conversation. Vice Mayor?
Thank you. Only one item. Mr. Brea, the Park of Commerce, inside the Park of Commerce, there's Miami Arts Charter School. What I've recently witnessed was a couple of students walking to school, and it was raining, so they were walking in the street because the grass was saturated with water. So I slowed down, put on my hazards to trail them to school because they were in the street. Is there anything that we can do to put sidewalks there to make it accessible for kids to walk to school?
Absolutely. We'll take a look at that and make sure that we've done that in other areas that we've noticed kids, usually when they don't see a sidewalk, they'll just walk on the edge of the street, which is very dangerous. So when we know of the situation, we'll look for a way to fix it.
Okay.
Not a problem.
It would be helpful if we work on that very quickly because school is starting back up.
Got
There's
it.
nowhere there now, but that's an accident waiting to happen.
We got ongoing contracts with sidewalk
Okay.
contractors that we can get them on board very quickly.
Okay, thank you. That's all, Mayor.
And that four laning of that section of that roadway is way down the road. So, I think the Vice Mayor's spot on with let's do something now as opposed to waiting for the appropriate, you know, people to do it, so. Anything else, Vice Mayor?
That's all.
I'd just like to ask for council approval for, we needed some help with the special masters, and Mr. Bobby Shiver is a resident and would like to serve as a special master. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I do have one vacancy on the Planning and Zoning Board. We have a six-member board. I'd like to fill that seventh position. I know we've probably talked about this a few times. If council members have any recommendations, if you'll send that to the clerk, or if anyone in the public is interested, you know, to apply for that. Also here we have 7 vacancies on the Community Relations Board, so we need to advertise that. I really don't have anything else at this particular time. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Move it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Good night. Thank you.